was some fresh udon.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I should like boil that up because I like udon.
Udon good.
And like the fresh pasta is better than like the boxed dry stuff. So I tried it with the Thai curry, and it's fucking delicious.
Nice, dude. We are live. There we go.
I'm your second host.
That's right. Good job. Did it.
Actually, can I swap things up, and because Boo is not here tonight, can I be the third host?
Yeah, he's sometimes the second host when you're not here, so really, I think it's only fair.
He stole the position of second host while I was dead.
Yeah, that's right. He would do so on occasion.
The grave robbing bastard.
That's right. That is true. Okay. Yeah, that's all set. That's all set. This is all good. Alright. Well, hello out there. Welcome back to Table Talk, Discussion and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Great on 95.
And I, as usually, am your usual third. No, I'm actually always your second host.
That's right.
And as of tonight, your third host.
Right.
Captain Chiral.
And potentially Boo will be here later on, but he might not. He's a sleepy boy, and it's understandable.
Host attendance is a game of musical chairs, unless you're Alejo.
Yeah. I kind of am here more often than not, and I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to deal with that.
We're working on it.
That's right. One day I will get it fixed, and that day, it'll be the day. But anyway, today you might have noticed a dress on fire, which is the metaphor or just representation, I guess, of...
You've lost me with this bit.
It's the thumbnail. It's the thumbnail of the street. Yeah, there's a dress on fire, which is the representation of bad style. Get it?
That is an adequate bit.
Thank you.
Can I have Linkus?
Yes, I will give you Lonkus. Hello, Khan. Hello, I am your new patron. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Links would
Thank
be
you
here.
for the money. It allows me to eat.
It
actually does not. It does. It super does not. Literally none of this money goes to me. Alejo puts it all to the dice fund like a stingy bastard.
That's right. And I have exciting news about that.
He does.
I do. So for those of you around right now, you get to know, and I'll talk about it again in the midpoint and at the end. But right now, hey, our dice that we ordered and commissioned and have coming through Q Workshop. Well, I got the news today at work that yesterday technically, but at work today I was able to pay them for the stuff. So the dice are coming in September, according to what the guy said. So get ready out there. Dice.
Patreon won't take my money suddenly.
Oh, yeah, Lux, I saw that you got kicked off, and I think Steely did too. I hope Steely's doing okay. We haven't heard from him in a long time.
Oh wait, was Lex serious? I thought it was a bit.
Yeah, Lex was actually serious.
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have no idea, dude. If that's the case, don't worry. You're still gonna get your set of dice. And Steely will too, because you guys are patrons throughout that whole thing.
Current patrons only. Sorry.
No. $1. Don't get too excited, but now my Patreon account is no longer mad at me for no reason. That's good. I'm glad it's not mad at you, but also thank you for the dollar. It all helps, even if it's just $1. So yeah. Welcome to the being the only one in tier 1, and that's a feat in of itself. I like it. I don't know what to say about it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say anything like weird. I just thank you for the dollar. It's fucking weird that you would give it to us, but thank you.
Highly questionable is the terminology I would use.
Oh well, I'll be more blunt.
to listen to us speak. Ugh.
Ugh. Oh yeah, and by the way, the mic arm is coming in on the 11th now, I think.
Yeah. Cool.
So, I guess I'll have to run down to the bank this week and see if something on their end. That's fair enough. Yeah, don't worry about it. Again, it's not an obligation, of course. If it's if you got, got stuff going on, feel free to stop donating. It's always the way that it is.
Yeah. And if you can't donate for the next few months, no worries about it. You will get your dice.
Yeah, exactly. Like those of you who were part of the 5 and up beforehand, you're getting your dice. Like that's already set in stone. I have them ordered. They are going to you. I just will get your information when I actually get the dice in and have the PO box set up, so that I can have a return address if I fuck it up somehow. So yeah. So dice are coming in September, hopefully sometime. Again, I'll make a whole little promotional video about the dice when they're there for sale, but the patrons will know, those of you in the appropriate tiers will know when the dice have come in early, because I will be asking you, hey, where do I send the dice? All that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a thing. Other than that, I'm looking around if anybody knows of or is, I've put this out there before, artists, people like that. I'm looking for overlay stuff, and I've gone on Fiverr today, and I'm looking on Twitter again, and I'm trying to find some stuff because I have things in my brain, and I want them to become reality, right?
Goblins?
As close to reality as possible. What?
Goblins?
Not specifically, but they are also in there. Don't worry about that. So yeah, I've set my sights on a couple of art styles which look really sick. And hopefully I can get into talks with them soon, because now that the dice fund has been used for the dice fund, we can start using the money for more things that are cool and more upgrades to the show, like this overlay that we've had for years now, which is not bad. Don't get me wrong. I always appreciate the work that was done. But I want something more in theme, less very generic, I guess, in a way. It's got our logo and stuff on it, but it's less personalized, if you will.
Less 2008 Microsoft Paint. Call it what it is, Alejo.
It's not that at all. It's got animation and everything. No, I would never say that. That is not the words that came out of my mouth at all. I will keep this forever. Anyway, so that being said, like I was saying before, the topic tonight is bad DMing styles, or at least bad style was the thing overall that was on the thumbnail. But it's bad DMing styles or GMing styles because long ago, like months ago at this point, so like years and years ago in internet time, How to Be a Great GM put out a video. And our good friend Brogan, I talked about this last episode, but our good friend Brogan responded to that video. Didn't watch the video personally, but it was a 30-minute video, and it was all on this one. And the topic being bad GMing styles and how to avoid them sounds very interesting. Potentially, things that we do could be in there. You never know, right? So I think it's a good thing to discuss, a good little topic that we can have, and we'll see what comes out of it. Perhaps nothing, perhaps everything. You'll see us for the frauds we really are. So, I
suppose
what?
Should get the watch together and the YouTube comments in separate windows.
Yeah, sure. Do what you wish. But as said, this is the 4 worst GM styles and how to avoid them from How to Be a Great GM. Good old guy making another video that is months old at this point. So we're obviously chasing clout all the time. We are on the fucking the throat of it, draining it dry of all of its delicious blood. That clout.
The sweet juices.
That's right. So
by the way, Alejo, before this video begins,
absolutely.
I just want to take not quite a bet, but more of a call out, maybe.
No.
If he doesn't mention cracking down on players cheating and potentially cannot be confirmed as to whether or not guy has cut off their hands.
Right.
If he does not mention that, I will be severely disappointed.
Absolutely understandable. I am looking forward to it as well. One other thing that I should mention before I get too far into the show proper, this is going to be a thing that might affect the show in general in the future here. I am going to be moving to an apartment. I just got approved. I hope to move in, if not sooner than as late as this coming Friday. For me here in the US of A on the East Coast. Whatever your time zone is, you might be ahead or behind. Who fucking knows? But like a day ahead or behind. I don't know how things work. Or you could be in the future. It doesn't fucking matter. Anyway, so by the time this video goes up on the channel, I will hopefully be moving into my apartment, and maybe we'll see if the internet gets set up in a timely fashion or not. If it does, everything will continue on as normal. If it does not, well, I will update you via my phone. So be prepared for maybe no show next week, but we will see how it goes.
I will say,
yeah,
at least personally,
right,
getting internet set up, like at my apartment,
yeah,
was literally just like 3 hours.
Oh,
so
really?
I don't foresee that you will have too hard of a time.
Right.
I don't know. I'm through Xfinity.
Okay.
So take your bets, I guess.
Right. Exactly. The thing is, and not to be a little bit of a shitter towards the area that I live in, which is Virginia. Not to be too much of a shitter towards Virginia and Virginianites, but I've learned over living down here now for a few years that you don't expect people to be on time. You expect them to be late. It's a sad fact that I have accepted at this point, because I am early to everything that I do down here, and it doesn't feel like anyone else is. Ever. Except for some of my friends that they'll be early, and it's nice. It's a good change of pace but businesses not usually in the early kind of mindset. So
sounds like I should move to Virginia. I am late to everything.
Well, there you go. You would fit right in.
Yeah. Except my first day of work, where I was 2 hours early.
Ah, right, exactly. Then they would set a different expectation. That's the problem.
Yeah, my current boss was like, Aiden, it's nice to see you're here so early. And I'm like, yeah, don't get used to it. Don't let this be indicative of who I am as a person.
That's right.
Yes, Con.
But no, then you'd be late to being late. That's right. That's true. Man, the advice. Like, chase all the clout you want, just don't go chasing waterfalls. Do my best, dude. I'll do my best. But anyway, let us start now with the 4 worst GM styles and how to avoid them.
Coming up, we look at some of the worst GM styles that you could possibly have, but fear not. If you are one of these GMs, you can change.
Awesome, thank you. I'm glad.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of How to Be a Great GM. My name is Guy, and today we're looking at negative GM styles, or GM styles that I feel are more destructive than they are useful. Now, it's important for all of us, even if you don't think that you have these GM styles, to be aware of them, because you might find...
You know what? I will take this opportunity to call myself out. And I will say that when I, how to put this? When I DM'd my last campaign, that was like how I kind of got used to DMing in general.
Right.
And it was very much like just a bunch of like friends sitting around a table, and like if at any point like anyone, DM, player, the like whoever could just like, if they thought of something funny, they could point it out and like interject, which is something sort of a mentality that I carried over into my new campaign. And one of my players a few times has been like, dude, can you like speak less? And I'm like, you know what, as DM, if I never had to speak, yeah, that'd be like great. But what do you mean? And he's like, oh, like you'll like interject and be like, oh, if you think something's funny. Which like, and like usually they are funny. It just like, it takes me, at least personally, out of D&D and like back into the real world. Could you not? And I'm like, okay, I'll do my best. And it's something I've been working on. Still not there yet.
That's fair.
But I'm like, there does also come, like, yes, that's true to a point, but there's also the part where like the DM needs to like have fun too, and that's part of how I have fun.
Yeah.
So, like, try to keep it minimized, but if Guy mentions this, like, DMing style, I will fully throw myself under the bus, preemptively, in fact, and be ready to be lit the fuck up.
That's fair. I don't find it to be like too negative I wouldn't imagine it would come up too much, because again, it's like you said, it's just something to have fun with every now and again, because not everything has to be like super serious or in character all the time, right? So I feel like it's not like, it wouldn't be up there with the 4 worst, you know? I'm expecting this to be railroading, like always, you know, like never stops being a railroadman. A conductor, if you will. Oh, now I don't know of any other bad ones.
The guy who's this is technically a subset of railroading, but the guy who's so married to his plot that he won't let anyone be like goofy.
Right. Yeah, I guess inflexibility to
yeah.
But that's another conductor thing, you know, like they have to be specific, and I guess they're all a subset of that railroadness, and I feel like that's the only, because we talked about it last time, but like railroading has its place, you know, like it's a good starting off point and all that kind of stuff. There you go. Okay. Con literally just said the adversarial GM.
Adversarial, yeah.
There you go. Very good example there. Completely forgot that exists, where it's players versus DM always. Like when it's not characters versus situation, right? Because that's what it is. It's not the DM. The DM is the arbitrator, always the neutral party. Wants to see you succeed as much as
I am a fan of the descriptor, like adjudicator. Like the DM is there to like see what the players want and what the rules allow for.
Yeah.
And sometimes bending the rules a little bit if they feel it fitting.
Yeah. So let us see.
That one of these GM styles kind of creeps into your game, whether you are aware of it or not. So by being aware of what these are, you could potentially identify them and understand why your game started to fail, or started to feel like a burden, or started to feel like something that you just didn't want to do anymore, or that you suddenly started having players making excuses, like the fact that they have to go to their grandmother's bachelor party on...
I'm sorry, it just, that whole text there just caught me off guard, and I actually read it. And I'm very confused now.
Now you can earn XP to level up.
Yeah, but watching a video only once to get it.
Also, give me like a second. I'm gonna go grab a drink.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. This isn't a criticism or anything. Out there, it's literally just I noticed it. It's weird. That's all. It's probably just a little thing that he's doing with his channel and all that, and that's not a bad thing. Not in the slightest. Now that he said he needs a drink, I also need a drink, and I'm thirsty. What do I have? I'm out of Monster. I'm out of Coffee Monster, and that makes me sad. I could drink another Rain. You're supposed to only have one a day, but I've had 2 before, and they're tasty. So I'm gonna die on stream. To be fair, I didn't sleep very well the other night because it was... Oh!
I'm on 5 hours sleep. Actually, I was going to mention this later in the podcast.
Yeah.
But since it's relevant, I'll mention it now.
Okay.
I will do my best to be there through the full podcast, or at the very least until Boo gets here.
If he gets here.
If he gets here. But there may come a point where I'm just fine. Like, yeah,
you're absolutely fine. I'm literally drinking another energy drink now because fuck it at this point, you know. So
yeah, I made the crucial mistake last night of at 7 p.m. last night. I then took a 3-hour nap accidentally. And I woke up at like 10:30ish.
Okay.
And in my hubris, I thought, oh, golly, that's unfortunate. My sleep maybe like shoved a little off, but like and then hard cut to when I couldn't fall asleep until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And I wake up for work at 7 a.m.
Yeah. That'll suck. That'll always suck. I actually got an hour more sleep than you this time then, because or maybe I don't know when I fell asleep, and I had to take a lot of melatonin, but I fell asleep at one point, and I do remember waking up every now and again because that's what melatonin does to me now. I don't get restful sleep, I get sleep.
Intermittent sleep.
I was awake until 11:30 because of fireworks, because yesterday was America Day. So all the Americans, well, it wasn't too bad, but every now and again, while I was laying there with my eyes closed, ready to go to sleep, I would then hear a outside, and I was like, great, that's way louder, so that's closer. I hate you, whoever you are. I have work at 6 a.m., or I have to get up for work at 6 a.m., so okay.
I fortunately kind of slept through the fireworks.
That's so lucky.
I woke up from my quote unquote nap. And I heard like a little like
yeah.
in the distance, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Oh, right. And it took me like a solid like 5 minutes to figure out what was going on.
Absolutely fair. All gas, no brakes. That is true, Slay. I am going to be on full alertness or die, either one. Melatonin never did anything for me, dude. Mog, that sucks. I'm so sorry for you. When melatonin worked well for me, it was the greatest thing ever. It was so nice.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I remember the days of when I first got melatonin. I'm like, this is a god pill.
And then it just started to not work anymore. and then be intermittently effective. And then I had to take more of it. So, one time, it'll be fine. You'll have the best sleep of your life, maybe. More than one time, you're pushing your luck, friend. Anyway.
So straight up, my thing lately has not been melatonin.
Oh.
It has been, and like, even a year ago, like, I would have made fun of me now.
Okay. So that means I can make fun of you now. Awesome.
Oh, at 100%.
Hell yeah. I never don't. Anyway, go on.
That's true, you don't. Earplugs and a sleep mask.
Dude, I want to get a sleep mask, actually.
Legit, actually, like, I was talking to my mother a while ago, and she has a sleep mask, and I picked it up. I'm like, "What, do you have a sleep mask?" And like, it's an owl, a cute little owl. And I'm like, like the sheer aesthetic of it makes it so I won't mock you, but like, whoo, you're cutting it close. and then my mother was like, "Yeah, put it on," and I with a smirk, I did so, and then I went, "Oh my." Oh. And it doesn't get like the darkest in my room.
Right.
So I got like a Snorlax sleep mask.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And golly, is it the best.
Dude, I actually sometimes will put earbuds in that are like they fit really well in my ears. Because I bought them not too long ago because I broke my other pair by letting them go in the washer, and
yeah, that'll do it.
It'll do it, and now every now and again I will just have those in to just muffle even more noise, and it's nice. It is actually nice sometimes. It's a little uncomfortable, because I don't like having those in my ears and then lying on my side like I do to sleep, but Anyway, sleeping stream. Yeah, my doctor gave me a med that ER doctors and nurses use to fall asleep. Works as an anti-anxiety med as well. Oh, well, there you go. Okay. You missed the message. Melatonin resistance has increased. That's true. It popped up in the I see it now. It pops up in the top right every time I take it, and it's like your melatonin resistance is maximum at the moment, and so now I have to wait like 2 months.
My UI is so cluttered. There's like so many timer countdowns going on and everything. Like, I can't see that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, Con.
Oh. Can't handle caffeine. 1 Pepsi will ruin my sleep for 2 days. Dude, that sucks. Caffeine is literally a godsend for me. I don't live without it. It's just a thing that I need. It sucks. But I will be okay with this being my only other addiction.
I started drinking coffee as like a bit because my paladin in a 5e campaign is an embalmer / interrer, and fought in a war and was like looking at the battlefield and like and we made the joke that over like the next 4 days he went through multiple pots of coffee. And we were like, haha, it's a bit. And then it became like my character became like addicted to the coffee, and we were like, haha, adorable bit. At one point in time we had to break into a hospital because like cult activity. And we were like, we need some way to sneak into the hospital. And one player was like, let's go as like an intervention for Morty. And like my character's like, oh yeah, that would work. Like if you all pretended that like you're there, like getting help from me. Haha, wow, that'd be wacky and fun. And then they took my character's weapons and they bound him up with one hand on each arm. And then they went, yeah, and then Morty will probably be thrown in like a decontaminant or like a
detox,
a drunk tank basically for a few days,
Mm-hmm.
and just while he gets over the caffeine addiction. And my character was like, what? And that was when I started to fight back, like for real fight back.
That makes sense, yeah.
And people were watching in the ethereal plane as like Morty's like biting, kicking, like doing his best with his 20 strength to get out. And they're all like, wow, Morty is such a good actor.
He's so good at this, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And afterward too, the leader of the party was like, hey dude, I was watching you guys like enter into the hospital and like you really sold that bit, like good job. And my character was like, what?
What bit? Yeah.
But all this led to I started drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, haha, it's a bit. I show up as show up to play Morty drinking coffee like Morty. And I started doing that bit for a couple months.
Oh,
and
and
then I became like actually addicted to coffee and would get like headaches and like jitters if I hadn't had caffeine. And that was when I like forced myself to go cold turkey.
That's fair.
Just because I won't tolerate a dependence in myself.
Yeah, I jitter anyway, so it really just makes it worse.
Yeah,
but
so do I.
I'm fine with that. I don't do anything that needs me to have precision. Not that I paint a lot. Not that I want to paint more when I move into my apartment. But I could stop for a while, but I just need to be awake for work, so I'm like whatever. In order to get that sweet cheddar to pay for that apartment and all that and internet and be able to do stuff, I will sacrifice my well-being for a little while. I'll be okay. I'll just die early. It's fine.
I would be lying if I said that there is not a small part of me that when I'm walking to like the bus stop in the morning, I have to pass by like sort of a shanty town of like tents in the street.
Okay, yeah.
And there's a small part of me that's like, I could just not have a job.
Yeah, dude, I felt that on occasion. Yep. Sometimes, dude, legitimately. Okay, let me just cover up we're not talking about the video right now. We're talking about existential shit. Well, there are literally sometimes, and I talked about this with the Boo not too long ago, actually. There are these days where I'm like, I just need to be away for a while. I want, and I'm probably going to at some point, just to take a week, not have my like internet just be cut off, have books, have paintings, have board games and stuff, just things that I can do like on my own, be able to hike, just go out and enjoy nature a little bit and just like take a fucking refresh and just
a week living in a cabin at the base of a mountain.
Exactly, like something like that, and just reset, right? And then just like be able to have that and go, okay, I can do it again. I needed this, or maybe I'll be like, I just want to do this now. I don't know. Probably not. But it's one of those things where it's like, I absolutely, some days I'm like, I could just up and just be done. I'm good with that. And then I'm like, I would miss a lot of things though.
I am addicted to like having the internet and like at any point in time just be able to load up like a video for like background music or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And everything about what you said sounds wonderful, except for the whole disconnect from the internet thing for me.
See, that's the thing. If I were to do it for real, I would keep the internet. That's the only other thing. Because I'd rather be able to do the show, because like the show, like legitimately, this is one of the things that I look forward to in my week every week, is to do the show and like hang out with you guys and be able to do things online, and watch videos and like have that entertainment as well. But
Yeah.
like, you know,
like I am aware that people say like, oh, get away from the internet, get away from social media. And the social media one, I'll
100%.
at least agree with. Like, social media is trash anyway.
I barely go on Twitter now. Well,
yeah, I go on Twitter for about like, I think 3 minutes every 2 days.
I more pay attention to some things that are a little less that I can't pay attention to without being in private more often on Twitter now, just because it's like that's what this is now for me. Fuck this.
Yeah, I'm on Discord near constantly because I have like various sets of friends that I talk to.
That's fair. Yeah.
But like, Facebook will probably be about 5 minutes once a month.
Oh, I deleted that for a reason.
Yeah. Facebook exists to remind me of people, like stupid people posting like stupid like politics and stuff like that.
That's fair.
And I go, ah, wow, look at what I don't have to deal with in my life.
Yeah. Fair.
And that's kind of the role Facebook plays for me. Like, it exists to be horrible.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think Facebook, Twitter are technically the only social media that I'm on. Like, Discord is...
I don't consider it. I don't consider it.
It's just a messaging platform.
Yeah. It's technically... I guess you could... If you're in a server specifically just to... It doesn't feel the same because it's more of a community, right? It's less of a It's less of a social media where you don't have to interact with things. It's literally there for you to interact. Like, technically what social media is there for, but Discord is so much better about it.
Yeah, unlike social media, I know 90% of the people in all the servers I'm across.
Exactly.
Oh, wait, no, I'm on the Cloud9 server.
Why the fuck are you there?
That's gonna... Because I was a fan of Cloud9 while Sneaky was on it, and then, like, Sneaky left Cloud9, and I just kind of never left.
Well, you have the opportunity now.
Yeah, you're right. And now I'm off the Cloud9 server.
Oh, yeah. There were so many things that I used to deal with bad sleeping habits with Java Monster, but they stopped selling it at the vending machine at work. That sucks, dude.
Which kind of Java Monster? Was it the salted caramel one?
Like me? Like
the salted caramel that I got Alejo addicted to?
The thing that I ran out of, that I'm very upset that I ran out of, yes.
Ooh.
I didn't order any as of recently because I didn't remember to, and now I don't have any, and I'm like,
I remember back at like college one weekend you were up visiting, and I was like, hey Alejo, I got you a gift, and you were like, oh thank you, and I'm like, first one's free.
Yes sir. Because, and you know what's the worst part is that I wouldn't remember that it existed until I saw it again in a store, right? And I was like, oh, that's really good. I'm going to get one. And I would go to like a Walmart or a grocery store, and it would be there in the little fridges that are right next to the cash register. And so I'd get one, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. I get one today. And it wasn't until like a few months ago at this point that I then realized the internet exists. And
Yeah.
And it was the worst realization I could have done for myself, because now I have both the funds and the ability to go and just order a fucking 12-pack of that shit, which is like too expensive, but also I need it.
What are you going to do? Not buy it?
What am I gonna do? It's there. So, you know, that's where I'm at.
It's there, and Amazon has a buy now button.
Yes, it does. You've ruined me. Down the line, you don't know what I don't know what I've wrought. Anyway, they sell regular Monster at work, but I don't want that. That's fair. Yes.
Yeah, the regular Monster is gross.
I don't want any of that. I get the Reigns for a reason. They're like less bad, but they're probably just as.
You could always move to Alaska and go off the grid, but alternatively, no.
Well, see, I've thought about, legitimately, I looked at the average internet speed in Alaska, and it was like 50 down, I think, which is serviceable, but I don't know about up. And I thought about it for a little while, having a whole month where the sun doesn't come out. That's kind of awesome.
But like you'd also get that in like Sweden.
That's also true.
And you could go to like metal as fuck church burnings.
That's also true. Yes. Anyway. That's in my brain now. I'll ruminate on that for a little while later. UI, I see no timers. I am an NPC. Oh. Yeah, you know. Me too.
Dude, that's the dream.
Internet detox is good for the mental health. It is. It really is. At least to an extent, it can be extremely beneficial. Like the less that I have looked at Twitter for anything that is serious, the more fun I've had with Twitter.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
So like now I'm like, when I go on Twitter and I see stuff about like current movies and stuff, because I also follow people that do that kind of shit, right? Because I like having that as a discussion. I'm less mad now because it's also in between there. I get several posts of things that do not matter at all, and I am okay with that. You know? Anyway, never used Twitter, heard stories. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all true.
Yes, every single one. It's a cesspool. Communities are always better when social consequences exist. Yes. Well, that's the thing, right? Even like
what was the context for that comment?
Discord being a community and not a social media platform.
Oh, yes, 1,000% yes.
Yeah. That's why I feel bad every day I look at the TableTalk Discord and I will go, I don't know what to say to you guys. I'm sorry. I'm
Just do what I do and mute the server.
No, I don't do that. I look at every I look at every single post and I always react to them when I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." Because I don't know what else to do.
I browse through like the memes page like once a month, and I scroll up until I got to like a meme I recognize, and then I go, okay, I'm all current.
Yeah. I keep track of everything, and like I only post the updates of when the show is going up, and the bot posts when the show is the VOD is up. But I want to do more stuff on there. I just need time and also things to say, and also I feel weird being saying stuff in the server to you guys sometimes, because I'm like, this doesn't fucking matter. Why would you care? You know? So
I'm not sure if it will calm you down or not. Or make your anxiety about this worse.
Exciting.
Probably do a little of both.
I love the double-edged sword.
That's literally what our channel is founded upon. why would anyone give a shit what you and I say?
I know. No, I accept that. But also, like...
But people do, and quantitatively, you can quantify it. You bought,
yes.
you spent over $1,000 on dice today.
I did do that. Yes, you're right.
And
I recognize
so,
this.
yeah, you can quantify it and go, you know what, they may give a shit.
That's, you know what, that actually does help a little bit, weirdly enough. So thank you.
Yeah.
The next time that I go and look at the server, I will have this happen again, where I will not post something because I'll rethink about it and then go, why would you fucking care? So
give it to me and I'll post it.
Okay. I'll make sure to remember to do that, even though I know that I won't.
I'm counting on it.
All right. I'm glad we've made a system here. I think they just had vanilla or mocha, unfortunately. Dude,
that rip.
The mocha sucks.
As honestly. We have established, Amazon.com is a website.
It is a website. I was like, I'll settle for a mocha the other day when I was at work, because they have them at work. They never have salted caramel at work. They only have Mean Bean and Loca Mocha. Yep. Fucking what is wrong with people taking them all if they exist even?
My last work always had those two flavors.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I knew the people who ordered too. So I could yell at them and be like, bruh, the fuck. And then we'd have it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we'd go out again, and it was just a cycle.
Right, exactly. So I had the mocha not too long ago, and I was like, God, this is so sweet, and I hate it, actually. It's too much. It is so much. It's not like salted caramel.
It tastes like nothing but sweet.
It does, you're right, and it sucks. Welcome to our review of Monster Coffee.
Let's talk about every Monster flavor.
I don't know any of them other than the coffee ones, really, in the original. Anyway.
Don't let that stop you.
You're right. I could talk about them all. You're right.
How do you feel about blue?
It's
which blue? The blue one.
Oh, that one. It looks like watercolor. Sick.
And you know what? It tastes like water. Time
to start donating. Oh no, sorry. The best and worst part of adulthood is no one telling you not to buy the thing. That's true. It's only you, and I'm bad at that for myself sometimes.
Con, I'm going to tell you a story that I think Alejo bore witness to. So when I was in college, I was past the legal age, and I was like, you know what? I have no food for supper. I should go shopping for groceries tonight. And I went out, and while at the store, I was like, I have no idea what I want for supper tonight. But you know what does sound good is cookie dough.
Oh.
And I bought a 4-pound tub of cookie dough.
That's right.
And then I was like, well, I need something to drink it with. Milk? No, I'm over 21. No one can legally stop me. And so I bought some alcoholic soda. It was called Not Your Father's. And they had a Mountain Dew variant.
That's right, yeah.
And then I left the grocery store because my shopping was done.
That's great.
And I went back to my apartment, and I made a concerning discovery. 4 pounds of cookie dough is a lot of fucking cookie dough.
It's too much. It's so much.
I realized after my 5th full spoonful, when I looked down at the tub, and I swear to Christ, there was more cookie dough than when I started. And I went, ha, oh no. And then I thought to myself, well, you know what? I have a lot of sugar in my mouth. Yeah. I need to wash this out. So I decided to wash down the sugar with soda. Um,
Jesus Christ.
and was met with mitigated levels of success.
I just fucking spit my drink on it. Yeah.
Or the one time when I wanted to do a repeat of Rooster Teeth did for all of you out there, I would highly recommend Rooster Teeth did a Grand Mac.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they got, I forget what the size, the next size up from a Big Mac was. Like for a while McDonald's had like the Junior Mac, which was like a baby Big Mac, the Big Mac, and then like a third larger one. We'll call it a Supreme Mac.
Might as well, yeah.
And Big Macs, as you know, are like 2 meat patties. So what they did was they separated out the Supreme Mac and fit in a Big Mac between its, like in the middle of its topmost layer and its bottommost layer. And then they opened up the Big Macs and put Junior Macs in between both of those top layers and bottom layers. And ate it all on skewers.
Yes. Yep.
And then they topped it off with chicken nuggets.
Cheeky nugget.
Now, I'm not the biggest fan of McDonald's chicken nuggets. So I decided to forego that because once again, I had reached a night where I did not have anything for supper. And I was laying there hungry on my bed. And then I saw that video and I thought, I'm an adult. No one can legally stop me. And I started up the car and I went to McDonald's, where I found that they did not have the Supreme Mac or the Junior Mac anymore.
Right.
And then I did a rough calculation in my head of how many calories was that? Like how much burger was there?
A lot of burger.
And I was like, you know what? 5 Big Macs should suffice. So I bought 5 Big Macs. And as I'm sitting there, the smell of Big Mac wafting up my car, it smells heavenly when you're as hungry as I was. And I'm sitting there, and then the little angel on my shoulder goes, "Oh, but you don't have any like kebab skewers."
That's right.
And I went, "Oh, gee, thank you, angel." Little did I know that angel supporting me in that moment was actually a devil. And I went to not McDonald's. I went to the local like grocery store. Got some skewers, got a couple sodas because it was going to be a long night.
But I have to interrupt. We got a donation from Lux saying, in case this Patreon thing doesn't get cleared up, gave us $5. Thank you. No. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. Thank you. God damn it.
May I return to my Big Mac story?
Sorry.
Okay. So, I return with a couple energy drinks because I already know this is going to be an undertaking.
Yeah.
And that was when I realized that unlike in the Rooster Teeth video, the amount of skewers that they used were not going to work for me. So like I had to like space out the skewers and like sort of like I think they spaced out no, I don't think they did space out the skewers in the Rooster Teeth video. I had to space mine out in like a triangle.
Yeah.
Like 2 up, 1 down because I was like putting them in kind of hodgepodge. It kind of looked like someone drunk trying to make s'mores.
Okay, yeah.
And I finally my magnum opus is completed. And I look at this homunculus of Big Mac in front of me. And I go, this is my crowning achievement. And I load it up onto a plate, like an actual plate. It's as wide as a dinner plate. And I decide to walk into my friend Alex's room. And I'm like, hey Alex. And I look down at the Big Mac and he looks at it and he's like, that's fucking disgusting. Get that out of my sight.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm like, harsh but fair. And I waddle back to my room, prize in hand. And I begin to feast.
Waddle is so appropriate. Go on.
And
see you, Lex.
You know, it's delicious. Absolutely delicious, and I eat probably about 3 Big Macs worth.
Jesus Christ.
Of skewer. I hesitate to call this food, so I shall simply refer to it as what it was stacked on.
Okay.
It was skewer at that point.
Yes.
And it's at that point where, despite the energy drink flowing through my system, the food coma hits.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And during my college years, I was very sleep deprived.
We all were.
And this year was kind of notably, like, even worse than normal. So when a food coma hit, it hit like a fucking truck. And so what I did was I was at the stage in my life where if sleep was coming to me, I did not say no to it.
Right.
Like, I had no semblance of a circadian rhythm. If I could sleep at that moment, I did.
Right.
Because who knows when the next opportunity is coming. So the food coma hit and I fell asleep. 3 Big Macs just what's it called when fermenting in my belly.
Yeah. Disgusting.
I think I don't think this is true, but it will make a better story if I describe it this way. I had mac sauce all over my face.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Passed out.
Yeah.
And this is where the story comes back to true. I woke up like 2 hours later, and I thought, oh, that nap was godly. And then I look over across the room, and I see Skewer there, making bedroom eyes at me. And I ate the rest of the Big Macs. 2-hour-old, room temperature Big Mac.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
It's not my proudest moment.
But it's definitely a moment in your life.
It's like the time I ate a whole pack of Oreos and like 3/4 of a pack of ice cream.
Oh, Jesus Christ. There you go.
By mistake.
So yeah, there you go. There's your example of nobody telling you that you can't buy anything.
Yeah, dude.
Good example.
All I'm saying, Con, is this has been a very long tangent to tell you, live your best life now. Don't let anyone tell you what to do.
That's right. Hey.
Or maybe I'm saying learn from my example. Take your pick.
Yeah, really. It's up to your interpretation.
Open-ended storytelling.
Let's see. Time to start donating $25 a week for Alejo's crippling addiction. Don't do that. No. Don't fund my addiction. That's a horrible. I already do enough for it as is. It's already taken hold of me enough. The problem I have in my life as an adult is that I have all the quarters I could need, but there aren't any arcades around anymore. Dude, felt. Man. Less bears in Sweden, probably. Well, see, that's not a thing that I would want. That's the thing. I like bears. Hell, if a bear comes and kills me, that's a life well lived, I guess. Like, what am I supposed to do at that point?
Going out like a warrior at that point.
That's right. I will yell at that bear. If he really wants me to die, I guess I'm dying by the bear. I will be yelling in fear and terror, but I will be yelling at that bear. There's a bear to the east of Sweden that's kind of worrying lately, though. Oh, maybe I'll go hang out with him. That'll be cool.
I'm sure all cult leaders felt a little weird at first.
Right, exactly. I saw that, and I'm like, oh, that makes me feel better. Some of us care so much we pay to listen. Yeah, and that weirds me out.
Yeah, that...
I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate it, and if you want to do that, that is totally up to you. But again, not an obligation, and the fact that you've been doing it for so long is cool, and at the same time, I don't know what to do about that, you know? Other than give you thing, right, as I'm doing, and then keep making the thing that you like, which is what we're doing now. You know, so I'm trying. Tell me more thing to do.
I was thinking about that last night, in fact. The fact that people are, like, donating, and I'm like, that's fucking weird.
Isn't it?
Like... Speaking personally, I wouldn't do that. But like, if people want to, like, hell yeah, more power to them. We will, I guess, just do our best to make it worth their while.
Exactly. Like, that's the whole thing. It's literally, if this is worth something to you and you want that to be shown via money, then cool. If it's worth something to you and you just want to be a part of the community, also cool. Like, it's all, you know.
Either way, you're getting dice.
Yeah, you're getting dice for it. It's very cool. And you helped make dice that other people can get. That's also very cool. Always remember that. You helped create dice, okay? That's crazy. That's insane to me. I was very excited. I told my mom about it. I was like, yo, Mom, I run a show, remember? And she's like, yeah. Like, we did dice now. She's like, oh, that's neat. I'm like, yeah. So, you know. That's a thing. Now I want cookies and a burger. There you go.
You're welcome.
Maybe we should review this McDonald's skewers video. No, I think that's out of our wheelhouse.
I should have made actually a video. I took pictures.
That would have been funny.
Hold on. I think I got the pictures somewhere on my phone. They're like deep in there, so like it'll take a bit. Okay. But I'll DM them to you, Alejo.
Sure. Have a good day at work, Lux. There's a moral somewhere in that story. Yeah. It's really, again, it's just something you got to sift around and find. That's all.
Yeah. There's a moral somewhere in there. Like, God help me, I don't know what it is, but there is one.
All right. We've had enough tangent talk. Let us get over to the video proper again. When last we left off, we hadn't started, really. As is typical. So, let us find out, hopefully, what the first bad style is. Eh?
On Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and every other day that you potentially could propose to play D&D on. Or whatever role-playing system you're going to be playing, for that matter. Before we get into it, have a look at this. World Anvil has been my go-to source and repository for all of the games that I run, whether it's for Rebelborn, whether it is for any...
This is an ad. I'm just going to let it go. At this point, fine, whatever.
Of the
it's
other
on brand at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That you can see here.
They're always
that
on brand.
Created.
Just, at this point, I think
I absolutely adore using World
because I'm just going to
Anvil.
talk through
Now,
it
there are
anyway.
lots and lots and lots of
a little confused
World
by the
Anvil,
fact that
and
you
each one of them
paused
is
the first time I talked.
absolutely, really, really, really cool. They have just launched a new one, however, which is going to make things so much sweeter for those of us
I
who
should
like
look at
to
World
link
Anvil again. I
everything
haven't looked at
together.
World Anvil in a while.
It's what we like to do, and World Anvil has just made it that much easier. Check this out.
Okay, I need to tell you about World Anvil's latest feature, the Autolinker. In just one click of a button, you can link thousands of articles together. So, like,
The one thing that I have with maybe World Anvil
freaking
might help me
keyword,
if I
just
were
click the
to
button on the
actually
top of
like
the
sit
text
down
editor
with it
and,
and like
let us do the heavy
come up
lifting.
with things. But it's also
feature is
I
available
think it's
to
just the
master
convenience of having
WorldSmiths
everything
and
in their
are
own like
available with the
categories.
text editor. So go check it out
I think
and
that's the main
let us know how
appeal.
we did. Grab your hammer and go world build.
Absolutely love World Anvil without a doubt, and that auto-linking, I have to say, makes it so much easier. You have a living document, so much better than textbooks. I must admit, when I write my books, I often sit back and go, I love the paper. I really love the physical paper of a book. But hyperlinking and being able to jump between stuff is really, really, really...
Honestly, thought we finished the video already. Yeah. No, the video is only a minute long, so you know. Also, is it did you hear him ever say ad? Might have talked through it, but I didn't hear him say that this was a sponsor.
I will be totally honest. I probably would have missed it anyway because I was not particularly listening to
That
him
is absolutely
because
fair.
a certain talent I picked up in college is the "Is it relevant to me" sub-program that's running in my mind at all times.
Okay, gotcha. Very small story about World Anvil. I'll try to remember to put it in the comments. Well, go for it. Maybe you'll if you watch back the VOD, you'll get to this point and go, and then you'll put it in the comments. It's up to you though. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Cool. Okay, so bad GM styles. Let's start with the one who thinks that they're actually a good GM style.
Oh?
The winner. The winner is
the adversary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
the GM who feels that they need to defeat the PCs. They adopt a GM versus PC approach, which I must say a lot of us may have had in our early years as GMs. I know I certainly had it. I felt after a while that my player characters just always beat up everything that I threw at them. So I needed to throw stronger, tougher, meaner, harder things at them because it started to become me trying to defeat them. I started to devise scenarios that they couldn't possibly overcome and that they would ultimately end up dying in. It was an empty victory, of course, because as the GM you have absolute power and can create and control everything to the nth degree. So it really is just a waste of everyone's time.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to say it, because it is just a waste of everyone's time. Absolutely. Everyone's there for fun. If you're getting frustrated by your encounters, that just means that you need to learn how to balance things better and learn what your PCs that you're like what they can do, and really plan around like giving them a challenge, but also making it so that they can flash their skills, right? Or create scenarios where you weaken them to a point where they can still beat a challenge, but you're still presenting it as a challenge, right?
Another thing to focus on too when throwing an encounter at your PCs is not just the pure like AC HP damage, and like all too often we as DMs can like just kind of reduce monsters to a not even a line of a stat block, like AC HP damage.
Right.
That's kind of all you need to know for a general monster.
True.
But you lose out on something very key when you do that, and it's failing to take into account like environmental effects.
Mm-hmm.
Take, for instance, the cave fisher. The
Oh,
cave
yeah.
fisher is a monster that, unless you have a cliff nearby, loses 100% of its lethality.
Yeah.
And that is something that, at least right now, I am working on coming up with, like, fun little interactions to throw at my players. So, for instance, and I know I said all are welcome in this, in the podcast, in the Discord server when I posted the link, but if you are a player in my campaign, like, fucking leave now. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So they're going to be going through a swamp soon.
Right.
Things get very boggy in the area where they are, and I have a hag in that area who is going to encounter, or technically, actually, according to the story, she's technically already encountered some forbidden information to her by way of a prophecy from the god of of one of the players.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time where, like, she heard it and she wrote it down on paper. And it's the first time that this prophecy has been written down onto paper.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the god of knowledge, who hoards information, went, that's something new. And he wanted it for himself. So he sent out some collectors to gather it for him. Some hounds of Tyndalos. Which, for those unaware, a hound of Tyndalos has a funny little ability where anywhere that there is a, like, acute angle, they can just come out through that area.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're in a room, the corners of your walls and ceiling, or the corners of your walls and floor, or your walls and walls.
Hell, a fucking chair in there.
Yeah, chair's got a lot of right angles.
Oh, yeah.
And in my hubris, I thought to myself, you know what, that'll be a fun little encounter. I'll have some Hounds of Tyndalos that are CR4 versus a green hag that I'll juice up so she goes from CR3 to CR4. And I will have a moment where the hounds have damaged the hag some, and the hag has damaged the hound some. And the party can choose which they want to help, if any. And based on their decision, they have certain rewards on either side. But then I thought to myself, well, they appear at right angles, and they're in a forest. Oh, that's... Trees make a lot of right angles. Like, each tree is one right angle with the ground. Oh, I need to know where every single tree is.
Yeah.
Which has been problematic.
That does sound like it's a lot to keep track of.
Like, I am firmly in the area where I'm making battle maps is helping to simplify things for me.
That makes sense, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've forgotten what I was gonna say, so we'll just move on.
Complete side note, or two side notes actually.
Okay.
The first is I am parsing through my phone.
Right.
And I am thus far unable to find the photo.
Okay.
The second thing is I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be back.
Okay, I will continue without you. When the GM wins, everyone loses. Yes. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. It being a waste of time and such. Yeah, with the balancing and such. Another thing to note, when you when you are making encounters and you're kind of hoping to spice things up, make things a little bit more challenging, more interesting, more or less of a joke to your PCs, is to use tactics, right? Make sure that your things aren't just standing there and shooting, right? Or standing there and swinging their swords, right? Having them do kind of more dynamic actions, making it so that they might have interesting abilities, right? You could give let's say they're encountering like a pack of kobolds or something, right? Something like that. And so you go, hey, these kobolds, maybe they've been around for a while, and so they've kind of learned a little bit more. They have their pack tactics, which is helpful, but also maybe some of them now have the inherent ability of the bonus action of dodge. Or not dodge, sorry. What is it? The thing that, oh my goodness. The thing that rogues get. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head right now, but it is the thing that cunning action or something, I think. But it's the one that lets you either dash, disengage, or a third thing, or maybe just be dash and disengage. It has been a while. Jeez, my brain is starting to lose it. So now they have that as another option that they can use to kind of jump into combat, do some damage, and jump out of combat, right? Making them a little bit more annoying, making it so that they have to kind of figure out how to plan around that. That's cunning action? Sick. My brain isn't as melted as I thought. But, you know, just adding little simple things to, like, spice them up, give them a little bit more power, quote-unquote, right? And then like Aiden was saying, using environments, but using dash, disengage, dash, hide, or aim. Aim? Is that a thing in 5e? I know I'm focused on 5e at the moment, but it's just the thing that is easy to kind of cite, I guess, for everybody. I didn't know aiming was a part of that. I thought it was only dash, disengage, and hide. Anyway, you get my point, though. Giving them something additional to make them a little bit more challenging. It's really just it, you know? Anyway, let's continue.
The other challenge that winner GMs have is that they are not afraid to use meta-knowledge. They will sit there and listen to what their players are plotting, and then simply somehow allow their enemies, their villains, their nemesis, to just have that knowledge as well. So
that would be super fucking annoying. Why would you do that? It's one of those things where we've talked about meta and stuff before, but meta knowledge is so easy to just compartmentalize, at least for us, at least. It might not be as easy for some people, but at that point it's like, what are you gonna do? Just don't act on it. You can know things, but you shouldn't act on it unless it makes sense that you would know it, right? But that would be so annoying to just have an NPC that just knows everything that's going to happen because they know that. God, that doesn't sound fun. Why would you do that? I mean, that's the point, I guess. The adversary is going to be not fun because they want you to die, so they're going to use everything. But man, I just can't imagine people doing that and feeling okay about it, you know? Aim is newer. As long as you don't move, you get advantage on your next attack. Easy way to sneak attack, but your speed is 0 feet for the turn. Oh, when did they introduce aim in Tasha's? Or did they introduce it in a thing after Tasha's? Is this BT or AT? Because that will determine whether or not I know, or I would have read it.
they can overcome the player character's plans. A massive example, if you are ever wondering whether you are a winner type GM or not, is if your players refuse to tell you what they're plotting. If they refuse to have conversations in front of you at your gaming table or on Zoom or however it is that you play these days, if they all go, GM, can you take your headphones off? Or we're going to go into another room and GM, you have to stay here.
Wow, that would be crazy. I think after Tasha's or with Tasha's. Okay, that's why I don't know about it. Okay, yeah, fair enough. So first off, right? I can understand this being the case if you're playing with that kind of DM, that you would even think to do this, because my brain immediately goes, "What is happening?" Right? Because as a DM, I want to hear what's going on so I can figure out scenarios, right? so I can figure out and plan on how things will react in whatever they're doing, right? Because if I don't know what's going to happen a lot of the time, I mean, I can improv, and I can go off of what happens in the thing, but it's a lot easier for me to say, oh, you guys are going to do this. Okay, well, if you are caught or if this happens, then maybe this will happen, all right? But, like, trying to come up with, like, reasonable things that might happen, might occur. Obviously, I'm not, going hard into these things absolutely are going to happen, because that's just not something that you should always plan on, because, again, as we've said before, everything will go in a weird direction one way or another every now and again, right? They'll do something that completely takes you off guard and all that shit, right? But yeah, not knowing anything, especially with what they're planning, ooh, that's weird. That's so strange, because I also like listening to the characters talk together. And this is the thing, from what this example is, it's not the characters making a plan. It's the players devising the plan, right? They're not this isn't role play anymore, right? So we've gotten to a point of kind of making it so the game is now 2 times in going in a weird direction, where we're out of game, we're out of character, we're doing meta stuff on both sides, right? The GM is doing it and going, I'm going to use all this knowledge to win, right? And then the players are also on this side to go, we're going to try to fucking beat the DM now and make plans and just, like, do it in a way that we know what to do without ever discussing it in character. Maybe they do it all in character, that is a definite possibility, but at the same time, it feels like it's inefficient for what's going on in the scenario, since we're plotting against the DM. It just doesn't feel right, It just, gross. Stop. Cease, please.
That means your players do not trust you. They don't trust you to not use the knowledge that you gain, the meta knowledge of what they're planning, against them. That's absolutely awful. It implies that it very much is them versus you. We don't want that. We want our game to be a cooperative storytelling experience that is set within a rules framework. Now, if it suddenly...
The only thing that I would say that what he said is it's not implied, it just is now. Like, before, you could make an implication every now and again of, like, oh, in this scenario, it really felt like you're trying to kill us, right? But if they're literally going out of their way to keep the DM out, it is not implied anymore. It is just the fact that this is a asymmetrical multiplayer game, like a Dead by Daylight, but not fun. Well, I don't actually really enjoy Dead by Daylight, to be fair, so that's not a great example. But what was that game where you played as a big monster, and then you had, like, a team of 4 who would try to hunt the monster down, and the monster would try to kill them and power itself up, and they would just try to kill the monster. Shit, what was that game? It was so cool. Evolve. Thank you, Con. Yes, Evolve. Man, Evolve was great. I miss Evolve. I want to play Evolve again. It's dead. Fuck. Anyway.
Them versus you, all of that's gone straight out the window. So you are literally now turning your players into enemies. That's what the PCs are. They're literally targets for you to shoot at as the GM. Whether you're shooting a dragon at them, or an anvil, or a starship, or a whatever, your players have now, or your player characters have become targets, and your players are now adversaries rather than friends sitting around the table having a collective experience.
Yeah.
How can that be healthy? How can it be healthy in any shape or form?
Well, okay, so there are shapes and forms where it works. Like, yeah, it's like Descent board game, one versus many. There you go. Board games do it well, but they're meant to be that way, right? If you're playing an asymmetrical game or board game, They're meant for that. But with D&D, it completely changes everything, right? It doesn't make sense because you're looking to the DM for help. You're looking to the DM to arbitrate again, or adjudicate, whatever word you want to use in that way. They're again a neutral party. So it completely shifts the dynamic, and it makes it so it just isn't a role playing game anymore. Really, it is just a weird not pseudo, I guess. Just a weird thing. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. There's a game, and I can't remember what it's called, but I put it on my wish list on my Amazon account, and I want to find it really quick because it's a board game that looks fun. That is everybody versus the one person, and it's like based off of Friday the 13th, very clearly, but it isn't Friday the 13th. I'm gonna find it really quick, because it's just reminding me of that right now, and I want to remember what the name is and say it. And if anybody knows of it or has played it, do let me know. Last Friday is what it's called, where one person plays the Jason basically, and everybody else is like a camper or something. Seems really cool, and I want it. Anyway.
However, we can draw strength from the winner GM. You as the GM should not be trying to win, but your NPCs should be.
Yes.
So if your NPCs are trying their very best to survive and being as devious as they can within their framework, within their space of operations, then you are actually using the winner GM mentality to the correct effect. NPCs should never be lackadaisical about their own survival. They should always fight to survive. They should be trying to do the very best they can. Now, if mechanically their intelligence or their mental aptitude, whatever your system is, if that is low, then they will make mistakes. They will still try their very best, but their very best is just subpar because that is mechanically what they are.
Just more stuff on the adversarial style, which now he's talking about how to use it correctly, quote unquote, which I would go, it's not necessarily using the style correctly. You are, as even said in the video, your
aspects of the style.
Yeah, you're embodying the characters that you are using, the NPCs that you're playing as, the monsters that you're playing as. It's not anymore a GM winning style. It is just, this is how things are, right? Like, things want to live, things want to eat, like that's
a lot of DMs run into trouble in general with there's like, how there's two main aspects to like every D&D campaign. There's role play and there's combat.
Yeah. Depending on the but yeah.
DMs can run into a lot of issues if they fall too in love with either one of those pillars. So if you're in love with the combat, you go, oh yeah, I've got to beat my players. I gotta like come up with like tough and interesting battles, which is true. You should come up with tough and interesting battles, but taking a love too far, sort of like going. Am I making sense? Like,
I'm confused.
For
a different part of it. At the moment, I'm following you.
Being too in love with the role play part of it is when you can start to get kind of railroady and be like, yes, they'll role play in this exact manner.
I don't agree that is what that is. I think it's more being more in love and too deep into the writing aspect of it.
Or being too in love with your own story.
Yes, I'll agree to that.
Redefine it that. Yeah, okay.
I will agree to that, absolutely.
fine then. In that case, two pillars of being a DM: one, telling a story; two, combat.
So again, depending on the
Being
system,
railroady
yes.
is when you're too in love with your own story, or
Yes.
too in love with the story you came up with.
Yes.
Combat, yes, of course. Like in other systems, yes, you will have more, but in general,
Right.
you
If we want to be
can
very broad.
you can if you want to be reductive,
Yeah.
you can boil down most aspects to playing D&D as combat or role play.
Sure.
And when you become too obsessed with one over the other, it leads to issues.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, because like, and again, it's less to do with the style that you're GMing. It's more to do with just how you run things. Like well, I guess that's the same thing. But saying that the winning style is something that you can draw aspects from is weird to me because it was never the case, right? It was never there for you to just because it was that way in the back in the day doesn't mean that that was the intention. And I don't think that that's the intention anymore, period. If there ever was an intention there. Because we've evolved it to be this is a storytelling game, so the aspect that you should be for combat especially, the aspect that you should be going for is to again present a challenge and have things act in like a survival situation, right, where they want to survive more likely than not, unless it is something that is hell-bent on dying, like some sort of a berserker that really is just like, I don't care if I die, I'm just gonna go for it, right? Or something with no mind of, or no ability to think of its own self-preservation.
A pack of wolves aren't all craving a warrior's death.
Exactly. Right? Like you have to just take that stuff into account. But I don't think that's due to it being a winning scenario style. I think it's just that's just how things act, right? I the using the winning scenario style is just throwing me off a lot, you know? Saying that it is something that you can, I guess, use. If that's how you want to visualize it and that's how you understand it, I guess so. It just doesn't feel right to me to use as the example of like something you should pull from, because it just seems too negative to me, or the storytelling aspect in general, you know, if that makes any sense. But that's just my personal take on that point.
Yeah.
Divorcing yourself from metagaming in terms of knowing what the players are planning on doing and compensating for that is absolutely important and is a skill that you should learn.
Yes.
The player GM. Now, the player GM is a GM who really just wants to play. They don't want to GM. They want to be part of the action. There's nothing wrong with that at all, because ultimately you are part of the action. It's just that you as the GM, you're not experiencing your world as a player. You're experiencing it as an NPC.
So I'm already saying there's no need to have a GMPC, in which we've talked about these before. People demonize GMPCs, whereas I would argue that the same skill that you have already proposed of not using meta knowledge can be applied. Just don't use your meta knowledge as much as you can, and do it as to the best of your ability, and you can still do the GMPC, or you make the GMPC as negligible as they can be.
Yeah, like you lot.
Just like, yes, to take from what I have done, from my experiences, I created, and I've talked about him before, I created Yulon Revd, a half-orc cleric who is not that type of cleric.
The absolute man.
Everybody told him he was the best, and he was very uncomfortable all the time. And it was,
everyone just called it as they sees it.
Apparently. And so I made him because I asked everybody at the table, I was like, okay, do you want me to give you just a guy who can heal you on occasion and just be there as like kind of just a guy who's with you? Like he's an asset, he's not necessarily a doer, right? He is just there to help. And everybody was like, yeah, sure. And so I made him.
We had no one who could heal in our party, and
exactly.
we were doing Curse of Strahd, and we needed a heal bot.
Exactly. And even though that was his role, he didn't act that way all the time. He had his own character, right? It's just he would heal you, but in combat and stuff, he wasn't really paying attention to healing, right? Like that's not his role in his mind. But that was his role in the game. And whenever anybody asked him what he wanted to do, he was like, I mean, you guys seem pretty adamant on doing this, so I'm cool with it, right? And if he had any knowledge that they could use that seemed appropriate, I would give that. But it was literally mostly just to have him be there to heal, and be another body that could take damage, so that it wasn't all on them, because they couldn't heal, and they needed to go and go back to get healing potions if they would want them. So having somebody who's effective, but not like to the extent of being a PC, quote unquote, it seems like it, even though he did technically do a lot in the very end, but that was accidental.
I don't want to hear such humility coming from someone who one-shot Strahd.
Accidentally. Because we were using crit tables at the time, and the crit tables decided, hey, guess what? Strahd's paralyzed. And it was kind of funny. So we just went with it. Because ultimately that was not supposed to happen. And it kind of, for me at least, it ruined a lot of stuff. But everybody had a good time with it, and nobody complained about it. So
a lot of stuff for you, but not for the rest of the table.
Exactly. And like, ruined is a strong word. It's just that it messed up plans of what Strahd does in that campaign. And so I was like, all right, guess I'll frontline the end thing. That's not really great. Let's do it. So, but yeah, so, and again, even if you have the DM GMPC as more of a prominent character, you just gotta know how to play them in a way that's fine. Don't ruin your own story for the PCs. Don't have the character do important stuff that they should find out. Actually, another example, before I ran it for you guys, I don't know if I've ever told this in general, I might have, but before I ran it for you guys, I ran the first scenario where you get into the town and go to the church. One-on-one with Brogan, actually, when I was visiting him, just to get a feel of it, because I was very nervous, and I wanted to at least get the feel of it. And during that session, when you get to the church, there are noises, or there are things that you can do in there, and there's like an encounter under it and all this stuff. Spoilers, I guess. It's old now. But one of the ideas that I had, because I was thinking at the moment, I wasn't really paying attention to running it in that moment. I was thinking in the moment, oh, well, I could just drag these pews and we could bar doors so we would be safe in here. And like, I proposed this to Brogan, for those of you who don't know, no net ones. I proposed this to Brogan in character, and after we do it, he's like, yeah, I don't know if you actually do run this and he's with your party, don't have him do that because you want the players to figure that stuff out. And I was like, yeah, you're right. What the fuck am I doing? So Brogan helped me with that, helping me to nip that in the bud in the early stages before I'd even ran the thing officially. So yeah, little learning thing for me there. So No Nat One's made me the DM that I am today. So you can go and tell him that, and see if he has a nice little happy face from it.
Yeah, when I made Wrigley a DMPC for another campaign I had, I made her a harpy rogue.
Yes.
Which has an intersectionality of multiple inconvenient things to have to deal with as a DM.
Yes.
Namely, she is small. She can fit in a lot of spaces, especially with her agility. She can fly short distances. And she was sneaky and could mimic sounds.
Yeah, that's a lot
like
of
a Kenku could.
Don't do yourself there.
And despite that, Wrigley was not problematic for me. Because I mastered the fine art of shutting the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
And going, oh wow, there's entrances here, and here that Wrigley could use. And Wrigley said nothing.
Yes.
Wrigley didn't think of anything. Unless if people were like, oh, let's have Wrigley fly through there. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's what Wrigley's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. It's a good skill to learn as a DM, is to just be silent.
It's a good skill to learn, in general.
True.
Sadly, one I struggle with on my podcast.
Which should really be enough for you. The NPCs should be running around, going about their goals, running their own existences, doing their own things, and that's where you should derive your role-playing enjoyment from. The player GM will create a GMPC or a DMPC, which is a GM-controlled player character. It's kind of anathema because the GM is already playing all of the other characters. So are they all GMPCs? No, they get this weird title of NPC. What's the difference? Oh, well, the GM takes special care of a GMPC. Well, the GM should be taking special care of every NPC because every NPC should be taking care of themselves to their best effect. See what we spoke about with the winner. So for me, it's a bit of an odd one. But the reason why GMs create their GMPC is so that they can be part of the group.
I have minor contentions with how he's like, oh, the DM takes care of this. Oh, well, every NPC takes care of themselves. You're just latching on to the word takes care of, and which is already very generous interpretation of, and you're latching on to the word and losing the meaning. You are throwing away the forest for the trees.
Right. This is the thing. We talked about this again in the episode where we dedicated a lot more time to this, but what's the difference then between your PCs hiring somebody on and a DMPC? If they act with them, if they give them a say in things, they make them a part of the group, even if it's an NPC that they are like, come with us, they just adopt them. Same thing applies. The DMPC title is the only thing that's different here. Because if they hire a person, you still have to contend with the meta knowledge that you have. You have to contend with that in opposition to the intelligence of the character and what they know. you have to contend with keeping them safe, because that's the point of them being on the team now. They're supposed to be a member that contributes to this, so they probably don't want to die and, not be paid anymore or whatever the fuck is happening, right? Or lose out on this opportunity. Like, again, the only difference here is that the DM made this one specifically for the party. And that, again, doesn't seem too different from them going, we want to hire a cleric to join our party. And then the DM makes a cleric to join them.
Like, I still can't get quite over. It's all like, oh, every NPC should be taking care of themselves. Herder.
Right.
Like,
what does that mean?
Yeah, no shit. So do the fucking enemies, guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, it's this leap of logic that apparently doesn't apply to, or not leap, but it's this general logic that applies to everything but a DMPC. And the only reason it doesn't is because we gave it the fancy name. And that's it.
It's like he's doing a reductio ad absurdum.
Yeah.
Like just literally going like, oh, okay, this word can be relevant in both things, kind of, if you interpret them heavily differently.
Exactly.
And then, oh, look at that. It now means the same thing. And that means DMPC bad.
Right.
Because a DM whose job is to populate an entire world can't handle one more NPC.
Because they'll have their meta knowledge go into that NPC. It's like, just don't do that.
I can make an NPC that is an utter dumbass.
Yeah.
And the reason why I can do that is because I have unique acting experience. One would call me a method actor because I am a dumbass.
Right. Yeah.
And it is purely an act, I assure you.
The more that you assure me, the more that I don't believe you.
Shut the fuck up. And like, take for instance, Wrigley. That was a harpy child.
Right.
Like, she was 3 years old, like, which made her the equivalent of like an 8 to 10-year-old child.
Oh, yeah.
Because harpies age faster.
Yeah.
They have a total lifespan of like 20 years.
Like goblins. Whoa.
Yeah. And that was sort of how I justified like her being like quiet to my players. I'm like, dude, she's never been in this situation before. She's learning. So yeah, you can 100% make a player character that does not have meta knowledge. Like, I told my players, I'm like, this is a child, you can take care of it, but I am not so generous so as to allow you to not have it die.
Right.
It can 100% die. In fact, in the case of like wild animals, it'll probably target her first because she's a small target.
Yeah. Like, the idea even to have an intelligent NPC, like, it's fine because you can also make it so that DMPC, is intelligent to the point of going by what they want to do. So they always want to go in head first. They always want to go in sneakily. They always want to, like, go in and try to butter someone up. Like, that's what they want to do, and that is their decision for the group, whenever they get asked. Or if they're having a group talk, it's like, well, we could just butter up the local maiden at the tavern and the wench who serves us the drinks and see what happens. Like it's just or something like that, where it's just always what they want to do because it's the most effective for them, and it's always been. And then have them kind of just be that way, or like have them just ask questions if that's how they're intelligent, where they just go, okay, are you sure that this will work? How? Please explain to me everything about your plan, just so that I can understand it and hopefully follow your logic. And then you have a conversation, and then they go, okay, or maybe we can do a little bit of amendments, or, it's just something that becomes a natural thing. And then you go from their viewpoint and go, okay, what did they think would maybe help this plan or hinder it? Based on their experience as a person, right? Not on your knowledge, but based on the character. And this just requires you to have a lot of thought about this character that is with them, and the same thing could be applied to a fucking NPC that they just hire off the street. All of this stuff. All of it. So why are we treating this so special? I don't understand why, because we give it the fancy title, and we just say, no, they're working off meta knowledge.
But then the DM is taking care of them.
Right, exactly. Then the DM is taking care of them, unlike when he takes care of the bandits that they're going to fight in the next scene, or the
Actually, may I interject, because I think I have perceived a crucial flaw in
Absolutely, please go ahead.
He says, if I may rewind,
yeah, go for it.
A little bit.
Taking special care of every NPC, because no, they get this, and that's where you should derive your role-playing enjoyment from. The player GM will create a GMPC, or a DMPC, which is a GM-controlled player character. It's kind of anathema, because the GM is already playing all of the other characters. So are they all GMPCs? No, they get this weird title of NPC. What's the difference? Oh, well, the GM takes special care of a GMPC.
No.
Why? Yeah.
The DM does not take special care of a DMPC. The DMPC can die.
Yeah, that's the thing. Unless we are in the absolute specific scenario where the DM cares more about that character than anything else.
Yeah.
That is the specific scenario.
In which case you have a whole host of other issues.
Exactly. Like we are not in the territory of this being the DMPC problem. This is a problem with your GM having this story that they have in their head that has to go this way.
This is a symptom, not a cause.
Exactly. So just, I don't know, get better at letting things die.
I know I mentioned it various times on this podcast.
Yeah.
The most recent of which was last week. But when I was prepping my current campaign, I told my players, I am going to make a story, and I'm going to love my story. Yeah. However, if you decide to march due fucking north, I will throw my story in the trash.
Exactly.
Like, I have a political intrigue thing that spans multiple countries, but if you just decide, nah man, north, then I'm going to go, and all of that intrigue is going to go down the drain.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Like, you guys, I make a story, kind of. I make the framework for a story, but you guys actually, by your choices, actually make the story.
Yes. 100% agree. It's just, I don't know. Again, it just seems to be this is another parrot piece, I think, that just continues to be, because some people have had this problem where they have these DMs who care too much about the character that they make. In which case, that just is a person-to-person problem that could be something that affects your game, or it could be something that never affects your game. It's just important to know when that is the case and when it isn't, right? And just how to avoid it if that is something that could happen. So I just, again, it just seems super weirdly hypocritical in a way, to go, the DM controls the whole world and has to make sure that everything acts in a certain way to survive and all this stuff. But if they make a NPC that is specifically embedded in the party, they can't do that because they will make sure that that NPC takes care of themselves and wants to survive. And I'm like, oh, huh? I'm not trying to strawman it or anything. I think I'm covering it well enough that that is the simplistic form of what is being argued every time this comes up. The DM makes NPCs that are have to survive as much as they want to, but if they make a DMPC that wants to survive as much as it wants to, this is not okay because it could have meta knowledge.
Well, I think the thing is in your argument, you are not strawmanning. The people arguing against the validity of DMPCs are strawmanning.
That's what it feels like, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm accurately portraying their argument, right? Because that is what I am hearing, and that is always what I am hearing, and I don't understand why this is a valid argument. Because it isn't. Because, again, if you're going to take the meta knowledge away from your NPCs, why can you not also do the same thing for your DMPCs? And also, if you're going to allow these NPCs to die, why are you also not going to allow your DMPC to die? It's just as simple as that. I don't know how else to put it. So can we please, in the future, everyone ever put this to bed and say it's okay as long as you don't make the DMPC unkillable for no goddamn reason other than you want them to live forever, and you're not using all of your knowledge of the story and world that you've created to inform all of the DMPC's decisions, just like you wouldn't do that for an NPC? Can we just do that, please? And then we can just stop this weird issue that isn't an issue if you just think about it for a few moments. I don't know. It just seems so cut and dry.
I think, and this is pure assumption on my part,
Mm-hmm.
but I think part of the reason why people demonize DMPCs is because, and again, speculation.
Yeah.
They think that because the DM spends more time as a DMPC than they would as an NPC. They'll spend 30 fucking sessions playing a DMPC constantly, but an NPC, one or two sessions, boom, that character's done. Yeah. And I think they think that DMs will get attached to that character,
right? Which
is it can be a valid point.
Absolutely.
However, bruh,
it's not a be all end all.
There is no easy answer, but be like, just let him die.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Just be okay with that guy maybe dying. Just like you would have to, it'll suck if your player character dies when you're playing as a character. It'll suck if they die, but you have to be okay with the fact that they might die. Because that's just the nature of the game.
Like, and if you want to avoid if you don't, as DM, if you don't trust yourself with keeping meta knowledge out of your decision making,
Yeah.
weird, but okay, I guess.
Well, yeah.
I would, in which case, encourage you to make a DMPC like Yulon, who's like, I'll do whatever you guys are okay with, I guess. Like you guys are experienced with this.
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, something like that.
Or alternatively, if like there's an even number of players and they are the tiebreaker, and your players want to do the whole like, we'll trap them by laying out two options, and we'll make the DM pick which row to go down. Because I don't know, for some reason, let's assume that they think the DM doesn't want a fight to break out, I guess.
Maybe.
In which case, if like your DMPC is ever thrown in a tiebreaker decision, take a quarter, and flip it in view of the table.
Yeah, might as well.
Like,
it's just do something.
Just to help demonstrate to your players that, like, bruh, if you're fucking trusting this NPC, oh boy, there is no partiality.
Right, exactly.
And you know what? That situation will never arise again.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, let's see. There's a few things I missed. I feel like I need to learn to shut up sometimes. Don't worry, me too. We're all in good company. Yes. A DMPC is fine as long as they just pick their role and stick to it. Well, I mean, I think it's just fine. You know, it's because they're just an NPC. Same exact thing. Also, that was a lot of shoulds, he said. Yep. Oh yeah, he's asserting that these are things that should be the case. And it's like, when it comes to these things, it's like, well, it's not, we don't need to assume that all of these things are going to be negative all the time. I don't understand why we do. I love having NPCs in the party, but I have 2 players that hate it and are always opposed to hiring help. Then later bitch when the party has no support/healer to help. It's like, you asked for it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they literally did.
Yeah. Shoulds about where to DM should be getting.
Speaking at least personally, as I've aged, my ability to give a fuck has gotten like cripplingly low, which is a problem given that I'm only 25 and already like cannot give a fuck. Like I see like 80, 90-year-olds and I'm like, bruh, same.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder how I'm going to be when I'm that age.
Oh, we're just we'll never get there. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's true. God willing.
Don't worry, everybody. Don't worry, YouTube bots. It's a joke. Go on. Sorry.
So, I am sassy enough as an individual that if someone starts to bitch that they have like no help, I'll straight up look at them and be like, then feel free to play a cleric.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, not bitch when people want to hire one.
Yeah. It's fair.
Go that route. See how that happens.
Shoulds about where the DM should be getting their enjoyment from. Ah, yeah, see, that is true. He did say a lot of shoulds about that, and it's weird. Because, obviously, I mean, he is how to be a great GM, so he has opinions on how you should. So, it's not surprising, but at the same time, it's also not the case. because not all people are the same. And I think we all learned that when we were, I don't know, looks at wrists, when we were in kindergarten? I don't know.
So, I don't know if I've ever told the quote here, but it's one that I actually adore.
Okay.
And it's one I actually got off of a meme on Twitter.
Oh!
And it's, if your solution to a problem if your solution to a problem starts with, if everyone would just, then you don't have a solution. At never, there is at no point in human history that everyone has just.
That's right. That's true. I remember seeing that, actually.
And you can frame his argument as, if everyone would just have fun with the NPCs.
Yeah. I've nuked DM at PC/NPC. It was funny as hell when the Mind Flare popped the bard open like a soda pop. Yeah. There you go. We're supposed to think DMPCs are bad, so we scrape for any argument to say they're bad. Yeah, that's right. Well, this is the thing. Again, I think this is a weird old guard thing. Like, it's just like, we had to deal with this, and people were shitty about it because they wanted their story to act this way. In which case I would go, well, we also still have to deal with it on occasion, I guess, if you get a DM that way, but we've learned that that's more of a DM is, like, super fixated on this happening this way. There are reasons for this that we can address that aren't the DMPC itself, right? As Aiden eloquently put it, it is a symptom, not a cause.
It reminds me of and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit when you were talking about, if it feels like everyone has had one shit DM.
Yeah.
And then looks at it and goes, yes, this is the cause, because they ultimately have kind of a myopic view of what causes issues at the table.
Yeah.
But we, like, the people who point out adversarial DMs as being problematic, how to describe this? Like, people point out adversarial DMs as problematic, and that's because they are. Or actually, because they can't be. Because it comes ultimately from a place of, I want to challenge my players to make them have a rewarding experience.
Yeah, it could be perverted quickly by accident.
Yes. Corrupted.
Yes.
But you need to learn how to separate the art from the artist, I guess, when it comes to DMs. You need to know how to be like, yeah, you know what, this is our friend and he wants us all to succeed. But also he's kind of a fucking bastard.
Yeah.
And you need to have that trust that if they are playing a DMPC, that they will also have that, I guess, not quite, but kind of grow comfortable with that cognitive dissonance of, like, oh boy, I'm going to send this character down a path, like, this character that I love, down a path that will ultimately probably get them killed.
Right.
Hope things work out. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what you got to do as a DM, and as a player, it can. We as a society which we live in, don't specialize well with trusting others completely.
Mm.
There will be a few that will trust completely, but you need to have implicitly. But you need to just kind of have that trust of the DM. Be like, you know what, like, you've probably got a plan. It'll all work out, probably. It's like when Boo said that the Call of Cthulhu campaign was going to be a bit railroady.
Yeah, in the beginning,
like, I trust you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you've got something planned, you, like, need it to happen, like, yeah, sure, as storyteller, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I trust you to be able to competently tell a story.
Yeah.
Which is a very simple sentence to say, but not one I see demonstrated often.
Right, yeah, that is true. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let us continue on and see what else we get to work with.
Well, the GM should be taking special care of every NPC because every NPC should be taking care of themselves to their best effect. See what we spoke about with the winner. So, for me, it's a bit of an odd one. But the reason why GMs create their GMPC is so that they can be part of the group. They can participate and make decisions, which is kind of weird because they're making decisions based on information that their player has.
See, now this is an assumption with the little text here even on the screen. It says, for those of you audio listeners, which, by the way, audio listeners, I apologize for not catering to you as much as I should. But in the video right now, there's a little pop-up on the left here and a little piece of paper that says, the GM wants in. With all their GM knowledge, a GM PC is basically a god PC. This is very unbalanced unless done as an NPC god against PCs. Or amongst PCs? Is that amongst or against? Amongst, I think, actually. Yeah, amongst.
Amongst.
Yes. So the more videos thing is in the way. But this is already assuming a lot. So if we are in the land of assumption where this specific scenario that the DM has created this PC to use all of their knowledge and to be a part of the group and is going to not die because he already knows that the AC of the man they're fighting right now is 17 and he only has a +2 to hit every time, so he's going to be fine and he'll just stay on the front lines. If that's the situation that we're going to assume every single time, then I guess so, but it's already faulty because why the fuck would you assume that every single time? That's not how everyone runs games. So why do we not use the same logic for every NPC in the game itself?
Yeah, like I feel, and forgive me if I wind up reiterating what you just said.
No, you're fine.
But it feels as if all of the arguments against DMPCs that we see, like, Alejo, you've played the Souls games, right?
I have played, yes, I've played Dark Souls 1 a little bit, yes.
Did you play 3 at all?
I haven't played 3 yet, no.
How familiar are you with 3?
I have seen the entirety of 3.
So you know when you use the wind collar, I believe, against Yorm the Giant? The big, like, broadsword that, like, has big, like, wind slashes that deal, a quarter of the boss's HP with one hit. Okay, cool. How familiar are you with Elden Ring?
Not at all, actually.
Okay. Minor spoilers, I guess.
That's
the
fine.
game's been out long enough, you've had your chance.
Yeah, that's fine.
There is a boss just like that in Elden Ring, named Rykard. and he is a big snake.
Okay.
Or a collection of snakes, kind of.
Hmm.
And you walk into his boss arena and you see there is a corpse that is glowing, and you pick up the item off of it, and it is a special sword.
Okay.
And then you start to use the sword, and it behaves astoundingly like the Wind Caller in
Oh.
DS3.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And golly, does it do some damage?
I bet.
And the boss fight is actually much better than the boss fight in DS3.
Cool.
Actually, even with the Wind Caller, it's like still a good fight. Either way, it feels as if every single DMPC strawman that I have seen, and when I say every DMPC strawman, you can replace that with the words every anti-DMPC argument, because they've all been strawmen.
They really have.
Every single one assumes that the DMPC is going into every single fight, like with that sword versus Yorm the Giant, and like every single fight, like, oh, the DMPC is gonna kick ass, and the rest of the players are all just kind of trailing along.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that can happen. I'm not saying it can't.
No one isn't.
However, yeah, I know no one is. I'm just.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just echoing bolster. That's all.
Yeah. In perpetuity, like, I know someone will say that I was or whatever.
Oh, sure.
However, like, you can have that, but that's symptomatic. Like, that's a symptom rather than a cause. Like it's like if people said, "Oh, well, someone on the plane was coughing a lot, and then I got sick." If people would just stop coughing, then no one would get sick.
That's right.
And that's what it feels like. That's what I hear.
Yeah. Oh no, you're. I'm with you 100% with that. Yeah. It's just kind of being so assumptive of everyone every time because they've had a bad experience and that's all they see. And I'm just like, what?
And much like in the example that I just threw out, like if everyone would just stop coughing, no one would get sick.
Yeah.
That is true to an extent.
Yeah.
Like, DMs shouldn't have DMPCs. Well, that's true to an extent.
It could be true.
Certain kinds of DMs shouldn't have DMPCs.
That's a better way to put it, I would say. Yeah.
So, like,
it's the problem with making such a broad statement when you have so many factors that apply to this scenario. Because you can't just assume that everything is going to act the exact same way. That's just stupid. I don't know why you would do that. You know, it just doesn't feel like you're giving people a fair shot, you know?
Like I believe we reviewed the false Hydra on that website. The monsters know what they're doing.
Right, yeah. Maybe we did. I don't know.
Oh, I know for a fact we did.
Okay.
It feels as if people operate under the assumption if you're doing a DMPC, the DMPC knows what they're doing, but all of a sudden no monster knows what they're doing.
Exactly. It's such a double standard that I don't understand. I don't see how, and no one seems to pick up that it's a double standard every fucking time that it's mentioned. So it's just like, what's the point? If we're going to make this argument, I could again make the exact reverse, and it immediately like counters it, because it's just like, why the fuck, if we're gonna think this way, why don't we think this way all the time about every single part of the game from the DM's perspective? Because that immediately destroys the argument, because then they would go, well, because you can keep the meta game knowledge from every NPC and every monster. And I'm like, okay, do you realize what you've said? Even in this video that we are watching right now, he says this. He's like, oh, I just pointed out before what you should be doing with your NPCs with the winning strategy. And I'm like, okay, do you not realize what you've just said in regards to this point that you are making? It just, it boggles the mind.
Like, if you, and we probably should get off this topic soon. Because
I think we've got it into the ground at this point.
But like, the counterpoint, the BBEG knows what he's doing too.
Yeah.
And the second that you become a recognizable threat to the BBEG, like around like levels 5 through 10 or so, like you gain a little bit of like notoriety and like, oh wow, they were at this dungeon, and oh wow, they foiled me at this dungeon too. Better send some level 15 underlings to utterly smash them.
Right, exactly.
The DM, or sorry, the BBEG isn't going, oh wow, they're about level 5, I'll send a CR6 battle their way. That way it'll be nice and fair.
Right.
Like, nah, dude, if I, like, speaking personally, if I were a lich and I had underlings and someone, like, if their face appears even twice foiling me at something, I'm going, okay, time to kill the fuck out of them.
Right, exactly. There's an element of that it's like, well, you wouldn't do that, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't. Why? It's just like, well, because that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good for the game. You would just ruin everything that way. And I'm like, oh, interesting, huh? Let's think about that.
Look at that. There's an adventurers guild in this town. Better send 1,000 fucking bugbears.
Yeah, exactly. Like it. Yeah. Anyway.
And they're all wielding pole arms.
Yes, exactly. They have the long reach
Double
fucking
that reach.
shit. Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, so hopefully that will be enough evidence that you can cite. Hell, if you need to cite somebody to that makes this argument, cite this portion of the stream of the video when the VOD goes up. And hopefully
the 3-hour portion of the stream where
that's
we
right.
talk about DMPCs at length.
Exactly. Please just send them the thing, and hopefully we can change their minds, because this is something that is just silly at this point, why we keep perpetuating this stupid shit. Anyway, let us move on. I will not stop again for this point.
Which is you, who's the DM, who knows everything about
One final thing about DMPCs.
Damn it.
the universe anyway, so it creates this weird kind of space where this character, this GMPC, has more knowledge than the PCs, the real PCs, ever could, because they're kind of in bed with the great being that's running this entire universe. What happens in those kind of situations is often the GMPC becomes very much a hero, because they literally know everything that's going to happen and can anticipate and make decisions based on information that the other characters don't have. We don't want that. We don't want to be in that kind of space. Now, there are times, and this is important.
No, I agree with you. We don't want to be in that kind of space. That's why it doesn't happen all the time. Anyway.
Where if you have a smaller party, or if some member of the group can't make it to that gaming session, where you might need to introduce a slightly more heroic NPC, a character who steps in and fills the gap in terms of the party dynamics, or who is a more important NPC, so a mentor or a love interest or a supporter or something along those lines. So you can have more important NPCs, but they're not GM PCs. There's no need.
Whoa, what are we doing? Where are we? What? Because somebody can't make it, we now have to bring in an NPC so that it's balanced again. Or, alternatively, we could balance the coming stuff for 3 people.
Or
we don't worry about it at all, and we just go for it.
In general, if I can't make it, I just shoot my DM a quick message.
Sure.
And say, hey, put Morty on NPC mode.
Exactly. Like, I've had that happen with my character in the Wednesday games, where sometimes I just either was way too tired or I felt like shit, and so I couldn't go in, and he went into NPC mode, and I found out later that he did things, and I was like, well, he was in NPC mode, I didn't control him. That's fine.
Like, going back to my Bible thumping about trust, I trust my DM with my character.
Yeah.
Why do I do that? Because that's what I do literally every single fucking session.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, sure, I can help, but if he decides to make 3 hellhounds that all have it in for my character, there's nothing I can do to stop him. Like,
right.
I'm trusting my DM with my character every single session anyway.
Yeah.
And I realized that part of that mistrust can come from, oh, but I want to control my character. I feel safe when I'm the one controlling my character.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is fair to a point.
Yeah.
Because have you considered that the person whose job is to control multiple people all throughout the entirety of this campaign may be, I don't know, just as like capable of controlling your character as you are, if not more so?
Yeah, exactly. And
well, the DM doesn't know my character as well. Does the DM not balance characters or balance encounters based on what your character is capable of?
Right. Like, somebody could come up and be like, well, you guys don't play Devils and Dice without everybody there, and you don't have somebody controlling the thing. And that's just because we'd rather be in person together. Like, that's just a different thing entirely. It's not that I don't trust that Boo could play the characters. He doesn't want to do that either. Like, that's just his thing too. He doesn't want to play somebody else's character, because he'd rather have the person there. And, like, that's fine too, you know? It's fine to let it happen, or it's fine to not do it at all.
Actually, we have played Devils and Dice when people aren't there, because, like, Brogan has gone to bed early. And we were like, all right, Science just on NPC mode.
Oh, true, but we don't do anything major. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know. He's just off drooling in the corner.
Exactly. We usually are doing, like, shopping or something innocuous that we're just bookkeeping at that point, right? But we're not, like, going through the beats of, like, the story and shit. We want him to be there for it.
We're not doing our first meeting with Lowly Fang.
Exactly. So, like, I guess we do that for that specific scenario, but that's because at that point, fucking tired and gotta go to bed, you know, like, and we've played for a while and he's still there and it's innocuous and won't do anything to sign as a character. It won't be something that he has to make a decision for. But regardless, like, again, it's fine to do it that way, or it's fine to let your DM control it, or it's fine to just not have your character there and have it be that you do an NPC for some reason that doesn't count as a GMPC because fuck it, I guess. The only distinction here apparently is that it's always gonna be a bad thing. So I'm tired of this. I'm so tired.
Us to like trusting the DM with your PC can be quite simple because, like, for instance, while I was moving, I was like, hey, I'm going to be gone for like 4 fucking weeks at least. And the campaign is drawing to a rapid close.
Yeah.
Like literally the last session I took a part in was the session before the final fight begins.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, hey guys, like I feel bad requesting it, but do you think we could take like a few weeks off or something? And like with the way scheduling worked, they've had 2 sessions since then. In both of which my character went off towards his house to like help his wife recover from an adventure because she's going to be joining us in the final fight, and she's got multiple levels of exhaustion. And the rest of the party all went to complete like a dungeon in the Feywild. So point being, if you trust your DM with your player character, your DM can find a way to fit something in the story that is convenient to be like, for instance, I have like essentially 2 sessions worth of stuff to do as Morty. And I've contacted my DM and being like, hey, maybe a one-shot. I would like to get everything established. If not, like I have bullet points that I just want to do as Morty real quick, and we can like bang them out in the beginning of the session. And if you do have time for a one shot, I would like to do a more fleshed out version of that. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Like.
There's so many options. There's so many options. Yeah. It's crazy how many options there are. It's just wild that this is like the reason why we're highlighting this is because we're resorting to having the DM bring in an NPC because somebody is out of the game, as opposed to them bringing in a DMPC ever. And it just feels really weird that this is like a weird disparity that we're just allowing because it's a different title when it's the same thing in a lot of ways. So it's just strange. It's just fucking strange. We just need this to stop. Can we stop this, please? Thank you. Looks like it might be a slight night over here. I might be able to actually catch up with the stream this time. That's good. Thank you. That's
nice.
Avoiding the use of meta knowledge is something you just have to be able to do. You won't get very far if you can't. Yeah. It's just a skill that you learn, like, as you play. If you're a PC, you also have to implement it a lot of the times, because sometimes you're not going to be in a scene and you won't know information, you know? There are plenty of times where, as a PC, somebody else is talking to another character, and I go, not to be that guy, but you weren't there, you wouldn't know about this thing. And they go, oh, yeah, you're right, okay. And then they amend what they're saying, you know? Because it's just a simple thing of, like, you know how it works. You weren't there, you don't know the thing. Or if you read the stat blocks, like that argument of, like, oh, fuck you for reading stat blocks. It's like, well, you can just not remember it, quote unquote. You can just leave it in your brain and not utilize that information unless you get told it somehow. Like, so many things here that we can do. So yeah. I don't understand how we can do it in one scenario and not another scenario.
I remember back towards the beginning of my campaign, I have a first-time player in my campaign, as you know. And we were fighting, I think it was I'm pretty sure it was wolves.
Mhm.
And I forget what the exact AC is, but for the sake of example, we'll just say it's 14.
I think it actually is 14.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, like that's the number that came to my head immediately. So anyway, go on.
But I'm just not too certain about it, and I'm kind of lounging in my chair and don't feel like leaning forward. And
Oh,
Googling it.
I'm on my phone right now. Go on.
Okay, cool, perfect. But I remember there was a moment when the party was fighting some wolves, and the player rolled a 15. It was like, does that hit? And it was like towards the tail end of the combat.
Mm-hmm.
When the rogue says, "Yeah, that hits. AC is 14," and like me and the two people that had played D&D previously were all like, "Oh." And she's like, "Yeah, it's 14. What's wrong?" And they're like, "Don't ever look up information like that. That's metagaming, yada yada."
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I sort of cut my one of my players off, and I'm like, yes, what they're saying is kind of true. In general, it's considered a faux pas to like look up the stat block of whatever you're fighting while you're fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's after you already fought it, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Speaking personally, stat blocks are less rules and more suggestions. I tweak things constantly.
Yeah.
So looking at stat blocks, if you're in one of my campaigns, is nigh useless.
Right.
Furthermore, I have faith in you to not metagame. Like
Yes.
I as DM am putting my trust in you to not metagame.
Exactly.
We
were wrong, by the way. It's 13.
13. God damn it. That
Yeah.
that was my close second.
Yep.
Anyway, I was like, yeah, I'm putting my trust in you to not metagame. And to this day, she's like still very super cautious about like, no, I can't see that. And I'm like, dude, literally, it's fine. Like, this was discussed in character. You can see a picture of the page of notes.
Yeah.
Because everything on this page is stuff you've seen.
Yeah.
But it's refreshing to see as a DM. They're like, I can't know this information, even if it's kind of ultimately unnecessary.
Right. Yeah. All right.
Like,
Let's see where
my goal as DM is to ultimately make more little DMs.
Yeah.
And if people want to have knowledge of that for potentially their own campaigns, I'd probably help them with their future campaigns.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Let's see what else we got.
Need for them to be completely individual and have their own character sheets and their own statistics and all of that kind of stuff. They need to have their own stats in terms of you using them mechanically, but they should never overshadow the player characters. They should never be more useful, more valuable than the player characters. They are very much NPCs, and they should stay that way. So generally speaking, what happens is if you have a GM PC who is running around being the hero, the PCs become sidekicks. They literally just become there to support the GM PC.
Again, this is in a specific scenario. Yes, this can happen. All right.
I'm seeing a lot of you saying should when you talk about DMs, because you seem very conscientious of the fact that not in every scenario, or sorry, not in all scenarios is this the case, but this should be the case. Where is that logic now?
Exactly. It's just like, I feel like if we played a game and I had a DMPC for the whole time, but he never acted the way that is portrayed as a DMPC by all these negative like things, then they would go, "Oh no, that was just an NPC," and I would go, "No, that was my DMPC."
You know the Friends meme of the it's the girl and I think Joey is his name. With she very carefully explains something out, and the second that she says the last bit, he immediately says the whole sentence again.
I haven't seen it, but yeah, okay.
How what's an example? Like it feels like she's like PCs exist, and then Joey repeats PCs exist that are all controlled by the DM, and he repeats that are all controlled by the DM. They may die. DM PCs will become the hero, and PCs become psychics.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Anyway.
It should always be the other way around. The NPCs, or the GM PCs, whatever you want to call them, should be supporting the player characters.
So that's interesting. I want you to listen to that again, because he's referencing now that this can happen.
Be the other way around. The NPCs, or the GM PCs, whatever you want to call them, should be supporting the player characters.
So, in general, this can happen, so we don't have to worry about it every time. So, in that case, why are we stressing the fact that the GMPC brand is always the negative? It's always going to be the negative when this should be the case, I guess, that they should be the sidekick. So then that is a possibility that can happen. What? Can we please just realize what we're saying while we're saying it? Because you've alluded now to the fact that you can play a GMPC and make it so that it's fine. That's what you've done now. Anyway, again, harping on the point, but it's an important point to harp on.
Or you said we wouldn't stop on DMPCs anymore.
I know. I lied.
That's kind of the contract that we get into when we sign up to being a GM. The not a GM. Oh my goodness. This is the one that terrifies me the most. And I had a friend who used to claim that he was not a GM. He did it because, well, someone had to GM and he kind of volunteered. Okay. Not a GM, they don't want to plan anything, they don't want to spend too much time investing in anything because they don't want to be the GM. They don't want to. They're not modular, they're not rules, they're not narrative, they're not authors, they're just there because someone has to do it, and as a result, their stories generally will just be the most amusing for them, the most ridiculous, or the least planned out. They won't have long-term plans because they really don't want to be there anyway, and their investment in their NPCs is going to be shallow at best. I don't care about this village. Whether you come back to it or not next week, don't care, because I'm not a GM and I'm not invested, and it's not my thing.
Why are you talking about them then? How to be a great GM?
Why did we ask them to GM? Why did they step up then? What?
I mean, speaking personally, I at least know someone who is has DM'd for his group numerous times, just because he's like, yeah, group needed someone.
Yeah, but I would assume he gave it the time of day at least.
Right? I don't know. This was like before I met the guy.
Okay.
It's Alex actually.
Okay.
And yeah. I really think it's problematic to make a video for worst GM styles And one of them is just a guy who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this doesn't seem like a style, this just seems like somebody's there. And that's it.
Yeah.
they like, I guess you could classify it as a style just for the way that we're using the definition, but at the same time, why are we even, like, because everyone knows that if somebody doesn't give a fuck and they don't run things well, then yeah, that's shit. Like, okay, is this news to anyone?
Breaking new ground here, apparently.
Yeah, it's the worst because they don't do it. It's like saying, the worst style is when there's no GM at all. I'm like, okay, yeah. That's basically what we're doing here. And I'm like, okay. I guess.
Do you know that the parties with the worst fighters don't have fighters?
Exactly. Like, I get it. It's like, okay, you have somebody who doesn't give a fuck, who is doing it, who is just there. But again, why are we settling for this then? Stop. Somebody will step up and go, all right, this was a terrible idea. I'm doing this now. I could do this better than you, and I give a fuck. Right? It's more just like an example of like, hey, if this is happening, just be the person to do it, I guess. I don't know. If that annoys you, just do it. I don't know.
Furthermore, the your assumption of the person who doesn't want to DM will then invariably do a bad job of it.
Yeah.
It has two glaring mistakes. The first is it's the slippery slope fallacy.
Yes.
That if A happens, B and C must happen.
Yes.
Secondly, I will at least personally be a counterexample to this.
Yeah.
My first campaign, my first DMing experience started out as me telling the people who would later become my players, yeah, I'm thinking of at some point doing a D&D Elder Scrolls campaign.
Right.
And they all went, oh wow, that's so cool. Let's do that. And they bought dice that night. And then it made me go, oh, well, they have a financial investment now.
Sure.
I have an obligation to come up with the campaign. And 3 weeks later, we had our session 0.
Yeah.
That did not start because I wanted to be a DM for them. But you know what? Still poured my heart and soul into the world.
Yeah. I don't understand why someone would want to waste everyone's time like this, right? It just feels like somebody goes, well, everybody wants to do it, so I guess I'll do it. And then just doesn't take that responsibility, even though they've stepped up to the plate, right? Like, it just, and which is exactly what he's saying, but I don't get how that happens. Because you have an expectation put on you, and I would assume that after that one session where you show that you do not care, people will go, well, I don't want you to run it. Or I guess, okay, no, you know what? I've thought about it a little bit more now, and I'm remembering other people saying some D&D is, like, bad D&D is better than no D&D. That is a mentality that some people do have. Because they can't find another group, or they don't have any other people to play with in general, or they don't do online stuff, whatever the reason. So maybe some people might not criticize either, and so they just kind of roll with it. But man, I guess at that point,
Alejo.
Yeah.
Man, dude, you continue your trend of making perfectly adequate puns.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed later. But but like legitimately, I I don't. I guess this is just a thing overall to say, if this is happening, fucking say something about it, okay? Like, don't just settle for this. I don't think bad D&D is better than no D&D. I don't think that that's, personally at least, I don't think that's true. And I think that you would spend a lot more time and a lot more fun reading a book or doing anything else. Because then you have enjoyment in something that you're actually interested in. And maybe it inspires you to even write your own world and start doing that yourself. And maybe you'll step up to the plate. But just, I don't know, man. I just don't settle for this kind of shit, I guess, is all I'm trying to say. Because your time is fucking valuable to you, okay? Even if you don't think so at the moment, your time is limited. I'll be as existential as possible right now to make this point. You are going to die. We're all going to die, and every moment is precious. You can, waste time however you want, and however you find it is valuable, however you spend it, but
So make sure you listen to us talk about the necessity of DMPCs for 4 hours and then donate to us on Patreon.
Well, okay, well, not that. You don't have to do that. But, like, legitimately, I am a big proponent of not wasting your time with something that you're not going to enjoy, that you absolutely know for a fact that you're not enjoying. Because it's just not going to be good for you in general, I believe. It could be the case that it's fine and you just are fine with dealing with it. But it's just, I guess it's just my perspective of like, fuck it if this is happening. No! I have other things that I could be doing. I could be productive in my life, or I could waste my time watching a YouTube video instead, and that would be much more fun. Like, anyway, that's my rant there. A DMPC shouldn't overshadow the PCs, but you should try not to have one PC overshadow the other PCs either. Yeah, it's the same exact logic for that. Like, a DMPC can be equal to the PCs. It's just, it can work. It absolutely can. If someone who didn't GM, who didn't want to GM'd, it's because no one else GM'd. It can be, absolutely, but, like, if they're going to do it and they're going to just not fucking participate, basically, like, what's the point? Those are dungeon doers, probably don't even have a house. That's right, Lenny Face, there you go. That's right. They don't even have one. Man, crazy. I don't know.
Right? It's just, whatever. So, as a result, the game lacks direction, lacks cohesion, oftentimes can just feel like everyone's there just to have a laugh, so there's no kind of real drive to play it longer. And then these GMs sit back and go, you see, that's why I'm not a GM. Because of this, because of that. And you're like, as a matter of fact, it's because you created that situation yourself. You have created...
Just like you're creating this situation.
Created and turned your PCs, they're literally just playthings. And you go, oh, I want to do an adventure.
Well, I will say, this, it can exist, sure. Why do you stand for it then? I don't know. And also, there's no problem with just doing things just to have a laugh. That's not a problem. I don't whatever. I don't know. It really depends on the expectations of the table and the people that actually want to play. That's really it.
Adventure where the players are inside a giant ball and it's rolling down a hill because it'll be fun, and they've got to make these kind of acrobatics checks or things, otherwise they're going to fall over. And oftentimes this is what happens, especially if you watch in feature films. Second and third and fourth version of the film. So, you know, they generally speaking, unless they're very good, get more ludicrous as they get bigger and more dramatic and more gigantic, and just the characters have lost value because now it's just about
I remember
one
when that happened in Lord of the Rings.
scenario after the next. We don't want that. But we do sometimes want that fun, that spontaneity, that irreverence going, you know what, we're just going to have some fun. And yes, you're trapped inside a giant ball of rock because of the spell. It is part of a bigger narrative. We're going to have a little bit of fun with that. So we do sometimes want that spontaneity, that enjoyment the GM brings in having fun with these kind of scenarios. So that
might I even invoke the classic shitty fucking saying of beer and pretzels?
That is a positive that we want to try and draw out from that. Finally, we have the actor, the GM who really, really wanted to be an actor but didn't, or, as I have had in some cases, are actual actors, and they're just using the game to basically...
Yeah, that's why I hate Critical Role.
Act as another stage for them to perform on. So they might have very complex NPCs, but that is so that they can get into the heart of the character, and they can embody this twisted soul who will be seeking some kind of redemption, whilst the player characters are around acting as, well, supporting cast, because the GM, who is an actor, wants to be center stage. They want their NPCs to bring a tear to the eye of their fellow players when they die so dramatically.
Okay, so this is the GM that cares more about their written story more than what's happening with the players. Okay. Like, same kind of thing. Yeah, it can be a problem. This one I would say, yeah, you can take elements from it and go, okay, you can have these elaborate PCs and stuff, but you just got to be aware that not everything is going to go exactly according to plan, which is why you shouldn't have a story that is going to happen in a specific fucking way, and you railroad your PCs to doing the things, because, and with this whole having them take supporting roles to the center stage of the character that is the I guess focus, so potentially I can see that working out. It doesn't necessarily make them supporting characters in a sense, but they could be doing something to further this character that is center stage, to help them along their way and get them to their resolution, and partake of the story. It just is one of those things where you have to make sure that what they're doing is actually going to affect the narrative, right? Again, not being so married to exactly how your story is going to play out in your draft of whatever you're doing here. So, I don't know. What he's describing sounds more like someone just running a relatively lackadaisical game, more than just absolutely not trying at all. I don't think a relaxed, low-effort game is necessarily that bad. No, so that was a later example of him saying, this is fine to do, doing a lackadaisical thing, but having a GM who runs a game who doesn't give a fuck is bad. And it's like, wow, I have never... Did you translate the Rosetta Stone just for that? I had no idea.
In other words, the actor GM is just there because they can do amazing voices, they can do amazing performances, they can run these stories which are always centered around their characters, not so much around the PCs. Okay. And as I said, the PCs are literally just supporting cast who have minimal dialogue. It also means that if the supporting cast try to be dramatic and heroic and start to steal the limelight, the actor GM will pull it away from them so that they can have the limelight back on their characters. We don't want...
Yeah, this is exactly the just being so married to your story and how it's supposed to play out. We've mentioned this before in the beginning, more so. So there's not too much more to add here, unfortunately.
that. We really don't necessarily want that. On the other hand, something that the actor GM will do, and will do very well, is that they will subsume themselves, they will devolve down, they will become the character, they will become the NPC, and they will fight for that NPC's goals, and for their ambitions, and for them to live! Yeah, all of that stuff. They'll fight for all of that. And we want to be able to do that as GMs, to say, I absolutely want to embody each of my NPCs so that my NPCs are as real as possible. Whether you are a simulationist GM or whether you are a narrative GM, you want your NPCs to come alive.
Those are new terms to me. Simulationist GM and narrative GM. I assume one just being you have a more focus on the story, whilst the other being sandbox?
Oh, I have nothing nothing I feel confident in being able to contribute.
Yeah, I don't
because
know.
I have no idea either.
If anybody knows what the popular consensus is on those terms, do let us know, because I have no, that's my assumption. I don't know. I have no fucking clue. But I'm glad that he's also putting out a positive, because you do want to be able to be the characters and stuff. You don't necessarily have to be the actor type to do that. It's just something that can come naturally to you, obviously. And I don't think that's not what he's saying. Like, you have to be an actor to do it or anything. I'm just saying in general. Yeah.
Also, give me just one moment. I need to mute the call real quick.
Okay.
I'll be back soon.
Okay. Must have missed that. Yeah, I don't know. Narrative and simulation GM. That's why, like, the reason why I'm saying simulation would be sandbox is because you're trying to simulate a world, right? You're trying to simulate a whole world that has moving parts and all that stuff. That's at least what comes to my mind. With narrative being like a module, kind of less focus on the exploration of a world and more so the getting through a story and kind of getting through all these beats and such, you know. Something like that, maybe. I'm not sure. Heard the term simulationist and narrative GM used, but I believe no, I've never heard the term simulationist and narrative GM used, but I believe I know what it means. What he means. Please give me your interpretation, because I don't know. My chat has disconnected itself. Ah, awesome. Oh, wait, no. I'm okay. Maybe. My internet's starting to be a little weird. Maybe. So I apologize if something happens. We'll see. But I'm still good right now. So hopefully once we're done this, it'll be okay. I'm just going to take a little moment here just to say hello to everybody and all that, because we're waiting for Aiden to come back. Oh, there it goes. But yeah, I don't know. This is I feel like you can be both as well. I really don't know, because we put things into many camps, right? We put many labels on things, and the terminology can mean different things to different people, and it's always just a question of definitions. And I wish it was easier to agree upon a few different things, right? Because we've disagreed with a number of terms and come up with things that feel more right to us on what they mean. Because like something like rules lawyer, right? That term is oh, my quality of the video just fucking dropped. That was neat. That term is kind of thrown around still and is more negative, whereas we have talked about it before, and like having somebody who knows the rules is good as long as they, you know, don't interject and contradict everything that you're saying, you know. I understand simulation as being more the world is alive and I'm just letting it flow through me, while narrative would be more I'm telling a story. Yeah, okay. So that's basically what I'm saying as well. I think. If that makes sense with like sandbox versus doing the story.
I return to you now.
Welcome back. Let us continue.
Danke.
So you do want to draw from the actor GM that fervor, that desire to try and embody their characters. Now, I'm not saying for a moment that you need to be an actor, that you need to do accents and that sort of thing. Absolutely not. There are many games that I have played in with many GMs who don't do accents, who don't do anything along those lines. They use descriptions, they use very powerful created wordplay, or they use imagery that they have already obtained to convey the character. But what we are saying is that you need to be able to take that passion and transfer it into the NPCs. So the NPCs aren't just lifeless things that are there for the amusement of others, which is what the not a GM does. They don't care about their NPCs. Their NPCs are there just to be blown up, to be shot across the sky, and just to be used as necessary. Those are my thoughts on negative GM styles and on the positives that we can pull out of those styles. I have slipped into the actor style quite a few times. I admit it. I enjoy it when my players sit back and go, wow, that was really cool. I could totally see that scene. Or I'm going, yes, love me. You really do love me.
I think Boo does it very well when he goes, hey, I want to do a thing really quick. Just bear with me really quick. And don't like interrupt this little bit here, you know? Because like at that point he's basically informing you that this is an important moment that I just need to happen so that you're informed of something, right? Because he's done that for like, well, we've kind of now adopted that as what happens whenever we meet up with Dispotter, right?
Yeah.
But like before, I think he said that at least one time when we were going to talk to Dispotter. But it's just one of those things where it's just you can still do this. It's just you have to not let it be your whole thing, right? Because like sometimes during a conversation, and most of the time when we have conversations with even enemies in Boo's campaign, we let them talk because it's fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? But I can also see the situations where we might go, yeah, fuck you, and just like immediately try to, you know, kill a guy. If he's not important. Right?
We could have gone in and tried to blow the wasp nest.
Yep.
The fuck up.
That's right. But we walked in and did some queenly diplomacy.
Love me. All right.
Oh, sorry.
I think we've seen enough of Guy's video to draw conclusions.
Yeah, I just want to see if he says anything at the end here.
Yeah, sure.
Kill your character. We don't want that, right? I have been there. I have been the not a GM. I remember when I first started GMing, I was like, well, I'm not going to do it because no one else can do it. All of these things, you can go, okay, actually, you know what? I'm actually this GM. I'm actually a winner GM. You can step away from that and start to try and get to becoming a great GM by recognizing that these are the types of GMs that you are and going, haha, I need to move away. I need to adjust. I need to accept this and then
Did you know that people can change? That's crazy.
move on. And it's not accepting it as a negative. It's accepting it as a state of mind, as a framework from which you need to move forward. Remember.
So accepting it as a negative that you should move away from.
We are busy building you as the GM. We are trying to make your gaming experience that much better, that much more satisfying. And if part of that is for you to sit back and reflect and go, well, actually, this is my attribute and that's my attribute, I need to adjust this, and then to consciously work on that, that's the journey that we're on. We are consciously taking all of this information in, and we are choosing what information to accept without just dismissing it offhand and just going, We are trying to improve ourselves. That's
so like what you don't do for DMPCs all the time.
The journey we are. So a massive thank you for watching all the way through to the end. A reminder, hit that like button or that subscribe button or the bell button to be alerted when new videos come out. And until next week, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.
Thanks, guys.
So, I would say, in review, in summary, decent video guy. Wish it could have been better thought out.
Yeah, a lot of contentions. Just
His videos just seem to be really hit or miss.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't know. Like when we have a one that hits better, it's usually just minor contentions. This one I'm like, I don't I don't agree with a lot of it, but all right. Yeah.
Like it feels bad to have a video where the most agreeing I can be to one of the points I hear is, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's fine. Go check out How to Be a Great GM. He does have good stuff. Like he does have good stuff on a lot of writing tips and such.
Yeah, I legitimately do recommend like checking out the channel and supporting it if you want to.
Yeah.
I just
it's just a poor showing this time around. That's all.
Yes, yeah, no. Which I mean, the nature of the show is you're going to have a little bit of selection bias because we're not choosing videos that we go, oh well, this is a fantastic idea. Because the nature of the show is usually we sometimes, yes, that happens, but like in general we try to go, okay, and I have contentions with this because because it promotes discussion.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
It's hard to have a discussion when like Ginny D knocks it out of the park like on last week's episode, and the whole discussion was yes.
Well, no, we went into some examples and such. I guess it's less of a discussion and more of a
discourse.
Yes, more of a discourse, more of a being inspired by and being able to further go into those points. We had some contention with the no railroading thing, I do remember. No railroading at all. But that was just because, you know, everybody says don't railroad at all, and we have our ideas. Our stupid ideas. Let's see. My guess is that narrative means being focused on running a story. Simulationist would mean actually slowing down to use rules to figure out exactly what's happening. Like, if a party is traveling, they'll break out the rules for the weather, etc., or they'll roll for random encounters or for every certain number of hours that pass. A narrative GM would just move straight from one planned scene to the next. Potentially. Yeah, again, I don't know. I really think it is simple as one goes for the narrative route with less exploration and such, and the other one being more of a sandbox. That's really where my brain goes with it, and if that's not correct, then that is how I interpret it, and I would love to be told the official ruling of what the words mean. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where people throw out these things as if you're supposed to know what they mean, and when you don't, it makes a disconnect happen. And I think that's more the point that I want to throw out there, is that there's a disconnect there because I have no idea. And maybe that's on my end, like a fault on my end, but I don't know. But anyway, that's the video for today. I had another one planned if this one didn't take so long, but it did take long enough, so I'm thinking that that's going to be the only video we cover. So let us move on to comments. Those lovely things. If I can find them, I can. All right. So, what? There we go. We have 2 comments, unless I refresh the page and more pop up. No. Okay. So we have 2 comments from last week. The first one from Timothy Martin that says, "It was fun hearing Aiden's TTRPG story time, and I pretty much agree with everything you said on the topic for the video. Thanks for the show, guys." Smiley face.
Aww.
There you go. And then also on that video, Lux comments. I think a more broad rule that applies here is that if you're going to give someone advice, you need to communicate effectively. Instead of simple, vague statements that could be taken any number of ways, you need to actually say what you mean and explain it clearly. Don't over-prepare is a vague statement that could mean a lot of things. Instead of talking about over-preparing or under-preparing, the best way to approach this advice is to talk about precisely how to prepare. Basically, list off whatever points you can think of that the newer GM should know about their campaign world, at least in your own opinion. Opinions can differ, but it's good for a new GM to at least have a model to start from. Of course, I would encourage any new GM to read whatever the system's equivalent of the DMG is, even if it's just a section of the core rulebook. Odds are that's the most useful source of advice they have access to, although reading it also involves the most effort out of anything else they could do. Though, to be honest, I would encourage anyone of any experience level to read a DMG. Even if you're already a fully capable GM, it might still give you something to think about. If we're going to talk about over-preparing, I would say the better form of advice is you don't have to over-prepare rather than don't over-prepare. The only way over-preparing can hurt a game is if you script out the specific actions for your players to take, or if you spend so much time preparing things that aren't immediately relevant that you aren't ready for the next session. On the subject of railroading, I'm also starting to think that term might be a bit vague. In my mind, railroading is something you should never do, and you should definitely discourage a new DM from doing it. But what railroading means is, to me, is forcing players to follow your script so closely that their choices don't even matter, if they even get to make any meaningful choices. You basically expect them to play out every scene you had scripted for them, and solve every problem the way you intended for them to solve it. In other words, it's keeping players from deciding what their own characters are going to do. Having a general storyline you want a campaign to follow is not what I call railroading, although some people might apply that term to it. I don't consider open world game or railroad to be the only 2 possible choices for a campaign. There are ways you can get characters to follow a general path through a game without taking control of them away from the players. Having them start out as members of an organization that dictates their mission would be one way. Creating a strong motivation for each character to follow the quest line you had for them is another. If the players are on the same page as you in terms of how they expect the game to work, even just posing a chain of obvious quest hooks to them can be enough. You do need to make sure your players understand what you're doing so they don't go into the campaign expecting to roam totally free, but each character can still contribute to advancing the party towards their goals in their own way under that system. If I'm not being clear about this, what I consider railroading is when the GM exerts such tight control over the game that players basically can't make any meaningful choices. But other people might have a looser definition, possibly including simply any time a DM does anything at all to push a party in a certain direction. So what I would say to a new GM...
I would say that interpretation lies not exactly along mine, but like that interpretation is closer to what I consider railroading.
So what I would say to a new...
By the way, complete side note.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for defining your terms mid-combat, or not mid-combat, mid-comment.
Yes, it is important. Thank you.
Yes, it is very important and leads to more constructive communication.
Yes. And
especially when what we had talked about that session was miscommunication.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for putting what we said to use to help you describe what you mean better.
Yes, exactly. It's always important to define your terms because, as you've put it, and as everybody knows, one person's definition can be totally different from another, and once we actually define our terms, then we can come to a better understanding overall. It's great. You did good. So what I would say to a new DM is not that they should or shouldn't railroad, but that they should let characters make decisions on their own that can affect how the story proceeds. And, in particular, they should let characters find their own solutions to problems. They shouldn't force players to do things a certain way just to create the exact scene the GM wants to create. If they do want something to happen that requires a fairly high level of cooperation from the players, they need to say so up front, and they should do that sparingly. Hopefully, bad DMing styles will be covered at some point. I might have some words to say about some of them. Well, there you go. Yeah, I figured that since we didn't get to it last time, we would get to it this time. But, you know. It's hard to write comments on videos where the person makes a good argument. Yes.
me looking at the long ass comments left on some of our videos and like pulling my shirt collar.
But yeah, overall, personally, I also I think I am more towards the railroading is the what did you say specifically? Including simply anytime the DM does anything at all to push a party in a certain direction. Like, I also include that a little bit more so in my term of railroading, because that's what I understand that the general understanding of the term is. It's very loose, which is beneficial and a problem, right? Because when we just say don't railroad, some people mean different things because of that whole how loose that term is. So, you know, whatever. So we'll see. Maybe the understanding of it will change in the future. It won't. And maybe the DMPC arguments will stop being so straw man-y. They won't. No, I just, it really ticks me off for that straw manning of the NPCs every time. It really does, because it's just every fucking time. But I don't know. I hope that maybe someday we will get to that point that we can say more of these specific terms more so when we're talking about these things, because again, if more people said very specifically like what they mean by these terms, I think it would help so much with these videos for people that are starting out and doing these new things. Because I agree with you, like, that the using allow your players to make decisions that can affect the game or the story is a much better thing to say to a new DM, because even if they don't understand that entirely right then, they can ask you what you mean in that case, because you're being very specific, and then you can go into more specificity in that case, because when you say don't railroad, and then they go, well, what does that mean? You can go into more specificity, but then, like, when they hear more people say don't railroad, then they figure out what their definition of don't railroad is. That can confuse them more so, because then they're like, wait, which one is correct? Right? And really, it's whatever it means to you. But no, I mean, it, like with what we say of like, you can use a module and it's kind of like a railroad, but it's more of a framework, it's just the tracks are there, but you don't necessarily like there's enough there that they will throw themselves onto the railroad and they'll be doing the hand cart all behind the train. You don't have to even conduct them. They'll just push that cart and it's great. So, okay, so that being comments, let's finally, for the end of the show, say a thank you to all of our patrons, and then do the shout outs and shilling, and then we'll get the fuck out of here. If you would like to, Aiden, you can leave now if you would like.
Okay. Yes, I think I shall.
Absolutely. I figured I would give you an out.
Thank you.
You are absolutely welcome.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. The man's tired. So now I've got to do this before my Discord goes away. Yes, good night, Aiden. Okay, so thank you to our patrons. If you want to contribute to our Patreon, you're more than welcome to. You don't have to, though. It's totally fine. That being said, these are our current patrons on here. They're not all there because Lux is having an issue. So a special mention to Lux at tier 2. Sorry you get that one before anybody, but Anyway, this is the list of everybody. Draco Kraken at tier 4. Thank you so much. Mog Zero at tier 4. Thank you as well. Rick, aka Unit Rico, at tier 4. Thank you. Slazer at tier 4. Thank you as well. Drake Cross at tier 3. Thank you so much. Chris at tier 2. Thank you as well. Frozen Spaghetti at tier 2. Thank you. And Kill Chrono at tier 2. Thank you as well. And obviously, of course, thank you to our tier 1 as well. You don't get a shout out. I'm sorry. I've already said thank you to you in the chat. No, but it's just, But thanks. So thank you to everybody for contributing to the Patreon. Really appreciate it. Again, it's crazy that you guys give us money. Why do you do it? I don't know, but maybe someday I'll learn. I'll never learn. Appreciate you all, and if you would like to as well, you can get our logo to support us on a item of choice over on TeePublic. That has the logo on whatever you want on there. There's many things. Go get one if you want. If you don't, that's cool too. At some point, we'll have some new designs. I promise you. Other than that, the other way to support us, of course, is going through Humble, which if you buy with the link in our description, you support us as well as Tabletop Alliance, a charity that uses tabletop stuff in order to do charitable work. There's a link in the description for their site as well, so you can learn more about them. Right now, Deep Rock Galactic is part of the Humble Choice. If you don't have that game, it's fucking great. I have a free copy of it because I already have it. Well, free, quote unquote. I paid for it. It's part of the thing. But, I have another copy of it that I'm planning on seeing if any of my close friends don't have it. In which case I go, hey, take Dwarves. It's sick. There was another game. What is the other one that I got that I already had? I don't remember. But there was another one that's a part of that that's really good. So think about it. It's great. Other than that, of course, a lot of other bundles that you can go for. They're all great. If you're into them, right? Humble's a great site. Anyway, that'll do it for us for this evening, night, whatever it is for you. Buy more from Humble Bundle so later on we can crowdsource dice bags. That would be sick, actually. That's a good idea. Perhaps in the future. You could, if you want to. Don't feel obligated to give us money. If I find somebody that can make good dice bags that I'm proud of, like, quality and stuff, I'll let you guys know. That can be the next maybe thing, maybe. But right now we're gonna not do a big thing again. We're gonna go for art and stuff and have new stuff that way, because I want to get new overlays and such for the show, and also maybe new designs that you guys can get on shirts and stuff. And they're not going to be like memes or stuff, not like cut off your hands and stuff. I want like quality things that are references to us, but it can also look good when you're wearing it, so you can feel like you can wear this every day and it's like cool, right? The logo, of course, is one of those things where I feel like you should feel good about wearing it every day. No, it doesn't matter to me if you get the logo or not. It's really up to you whether you support us in that way or not. But I think that future designs for like shirts and stuff should have something on them that is very is universal in a way, that doesn't require somebody to know exactly like the community and everything and the show. It's more something that oh, there I go, I'm dead. It's more something that I just put that down because you can see many things this way. There we go. Yeah, so it's just something that if you know, you know, and if you don't, it just looks cool, right? And then maybe they go, oh, what's that from? And then you go, oh, it's a TableTalk thing, right? Anyway, that's a whole conversation. I have things on merchandise and stuff that I have views on, and I've got to discuss things with the guys, and we'll figure out stuff. But anyway, maybe the shirts and stuff can be referenced to Devils and Dice. That is something that I want to go for, is some cool Devils and Dice stuff. Absolutely. Like, that will be one of the things. It won't be like, it'll be neat and it'll look cool and it'll be references to it, but it's not going to be specifically like, oh, that's just Mez on a shirt, right? Unless people want like Mez and Boris and Sign on shirts, in which case we'd go for that too. It really depends on you guys. If you guys want these things, let us know, and we'll see about getting them to become reality. But otherwise, it'll be just cool things, hopefully, that we can come up with. Anyway, that's enough rambling about shilling stuff and merchandise and garbage like that. Thank you all for watching. Really do appreciate it. If you're watching in the VOD, or if you're listening on the audio-only version, thank you as well. You guys are all great. If you think about it, if you like what we do, consider subscribing to the channel, considering following us on whatever the fuck, consider joining us on our Discord. People do talk when people talk on there, and answer things if people have questions and all that kind of stuff. Don't be afraid to go on the Discord and just be there, just hang out just for updates and stuff. That's also totally fine. And if you don't want to be on the Discord anymore, don't feel like you need to stay there. It's totally fine. We don't do anything on there usually, but when we do start to, hopefully at some point, it'll be there, So, just like everything else, nothing is an obligation, and you're entitled to do whatever the fuck you want. Anyway, I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go fall asleep, because I have D&D tomorrow, and I want to be rested, because I'm tired, and I drank another energy drink, and so I'm not gonna sleep for a while. So yeah, thank you, and good night, everyone. Goodbye.